pick your hunger from the gutter and leave this place. Please, I am not asking for money. Just let me take the damaged rice.
The torn bag of rice hit the wet concrete, and the grain scattered beneath Victor Adebayo Allo's trembling knees. "Pick your hunger from the gutter and leave this place," the warehouse supervisor shouted. A few workers gasped. Others lowered their eyes. Victor, 68 years old, pressed one palm against the ground and began gathering the rice grain by grain. His faded shirt clung to his back. One of his slippers had already split at the heel, but he did not complain. "Please," he whispered. "I am not asking for money. Just let me take the damaged rice you people want to throw away." The supervisor kicked the old man Allo's wrist. "You still have mouth to bargain. This warehouse is not a feeding center for useless old beggars." Victor Allo's cracked wristwatch fell from his hand and broke beside the rice. Then a voice came from behind them. "Touch him again." The supervisor turned and saw a tall man stepping out of an ordinary taxi, his face dangerously calm. "And who are you?" he demanded. The stranger walked closer, removed his sunglasses, and stared at the man standing over Victor. "My name is Tunde Adebayo." The supervisor Allo's lips parted. Tunde pointed at the old man on the ground. "And that man you just kicked is my father." Nobody moved. The entire warehouse became silent. Tunde had sent his father 1,350,000 naira every month. So why was the father of a billionaire kneeling in dirty water, begging for broken rice? Do not leave this story halfway, because the answer will expose a betrayal buried inside one of Nigeria Allo's most respected companies. Comment your city or country and your local time below, and subscribe now, because what Tunde discovered after taking his father home was far worse than hunger. The warehouse supervisor Allo's raised foot remained suspended for one shameful second before he dropped it to the ground. The authority in his navy uniform suddenly looked borrowed, like something that could be taken from him at any moment. "Tunde Adebayo?" he repeated, but the arrogance had drained out of his voice. "The founder?" Tunde did not answer him. He bent down beside his father. Up close, the sight was worse. Victor Allo's cheeks had sunk. The strong brown hands that once repaired faulty sockets, balanced account books, and dragged bags of cement during the construction of Tunde Allo's first warehouse were now thin enough for the veins to stand out like cords. Rainwater had darkened the knees of his trousers. 3 grains of rice clung to the grey stubble beneath his chin. "Daddy," Tunde said. Victor did not look at him. He picked another grain from the water. "Daddy, leave it." Victor Allo's fingers stopped. "Leave what?" he asked quietly. "The rice or the shame?" The words entered Tunde like a blade. The supervisor moved forward at once. "Sir, please." "It's not what you are thinking. This man has been disturbing the warehouse for months. We had an instruction that he should not be allowed inside." "I did not know." Tunde turned his head. "You did not know he was my father?" "No, sir." "So if he was not my father, kicking his wrist would be acceptable?" The supervisor swallowed. "No, sir. I mean, sir, hope no problem. I was only enforcing company policy." "Which company policy says a hungry old man should be kicked?" The supervisor Allo's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The workers stood behind the loading bay, stiff as poles. Some had sacks on their shoulders. Some were still holding their phones. One woman had covered her mouth with both hands. Nobody dared move. Tunde picked up the broken wristwatch. It was an old Seiko with a scratched silver face. He knew that watch. Victor had worn it on the morning Tunde left Ibadan for university, on the day Tunde registered his first haulage company, and on the day they buried Tunde Allo's mother. The glass was cracked from corner to corner. Tunde closed his fist around it. Who ordered that my father should be banned from this warehouse? The supervisor stared at the ground. Oga Dele, sir. The name shifted something inside Tunde. Dele Okonkwo was not only the director of Nigerian operations, he was family. He was the cousin who had shared a room with Tunde during school holidays. The man Tunde had trusted with 8 warehouses, 184 vehicles, and over 900 employees while he expanded the business outside Nigeria. Call him, Tunde said. The supervisor fumbled for his phone. Victor reached out and held his son Alo's sleeve. No. Tunde looked down. Daddy, this man touched you. And you think shouting on the phone will return 14 months to me? The old man Alo's voice was tired, but it still carried the authority that had once made a teenage Tunde put down his football boots and finish his mathematics assignment without argument. Victor looked toward the torn sack. Those grains are still good. They were going to throw them away because the nylon tore. Tell them to gather it properly. There are men outside that gate who have not eaten since morning. Tunde followed his gaze. Beyond the gate, under the leaking roof of a closed mechanic shed, 7 former casual workers stood watching. Their clothes were wet. One of them quickly turned his face when Tunde noticed him. Why are they outside? Tunde asked. The supervisor answered too quickly. They are troublemakers, sir. Their contracts ended. Victor finally stood, slowly, with one hand on his son Alo's arm. Their contracts did not end, he said. Their salaries stopped. A low murmur passed through the workers. The supervisor snapped at them. Keep quiet there. Tunde looked at him once. The supervisor shut his mouth. By 6:58 that evening, every unspoiled grain from the torn sack had been gathered into 2 clean containers. Tunde ordered the warehouse kitchen opened. The supervisor protested that the cook had closed, and that stock release required authorization. Tunde took the pen from the supervisor Alo's breast pocket, signed the release book, and returned it to him. Now you have authorization. He made sure the 7 men outside the gate received food first. Victor watched all this without satisfaction. There was no relief on his face, no triumph, only exhaustion. When Tunde called for one of the company vehicles, Victor refused to enter it. I came in a taxi, Tunde said. I did not inform anybody I was returning. The car is only to take you to a clinic. I am not dying. You are not well. I am managing. Daddy, please. That word, please. Softened something in Victor Alo's eyes. He looked at his son for the first time since the taxi stopped. Tunde had imagined this homecoming differently. He had planned to spend 2 quiet days in Ibadan before appearing at the annual Supplier Forum in Lagos. He wanted to inspect operations without ceremony, surprise his father with a visit, and perhaps convince him to travel with him to Nairobi for a holiday. Instead, Victor stood before him, smelling of rain, dust, and an empty stomach. Fine, Victor said. But not your company clinic. Why? Because the last time I entered any place carrying your company name, I left there as a thief. The clinic on Ring Road was small, private and open 24 hours. At 8:17 p.m., a doctor finished examining Victor and asked Tunde to step into the corridor. Your father is not in immediate danger, she said, but he is underweight for his height. His blood pressure is high, and there are signs that he has not been eating regularly. He also has bruising around the right wrist. Tunde Alo's jaw tightened. Is he confused? The doctor frowned. Confused? Memory problems, dementia, anything like that. Not from what I observed. He knew the date, the location, your full name. The dosage of a blood pressure drug he stopped buying 6 weeks ago, and the exact amount he paid for his consultation. Why are you asking? Tunde said nothing. The doctor lowered her voice. Whatever report you have received, do not diagnose an elderly person through gossip. Cognitive decline requires proper assessment, not family rumors. At 9:04 p.m., Tunde paid the bill and carried a paper bag of medicine to the waiting area. Victor was sitting upright, staring at the floor. "Let us go home," Tunde said. Victor gave a dry laugh. "Which home?" "The house at Makola." Victor looked at him. "You do not know." Tunde felt a coldness spread across his chest. "Know what?" The house is no longer mine. They drove there anyway." The bungalow stood behind a low cream wall on a quiet street near Mokola. The bougainvillea Victor had planted was gone. A new metal gate had replaced the old wooden one, and a different family name was painted beside the bell. Tunde got out before the taxi stopped fully. He knocked. A middle-aged man opened the gate halfway, listened to Tunde Alo's questions, then brought out a file from inside the house. The sale was legal. The property had changed ownership on November 23rd, 8 months earlier, for 38,500,000 naira. Victor had signed the deed himself. Tunde stared at the document under the porch light. "Daddy, why?" Victor stood outside the gate with his medicine bag pressed to his chest. "Not here." "Why did you sell this house?" "I said not here." Tunde lowered his voice. "I sent money every month." The new owner shifted awkwardly behind the gate. Victor turned away. Tunde followed him back to the taxi, his pulse pounding. He told the driver to take them to the service department he used near Jericho whenever he stayed in Ibadan. During the journey, neither man spoke. At 10:11 p.m., Victor sat at the dining table in the apartment while Tunde placed bread, tea, boiled eggs, and a bowl of rice before him. Victor took only water. "Eat," Tunde said. "I will. When?" "When you stop looking at me as if hunger has made me a stranger." Tunde pulled out the chair opposite him. For the first time that night, anger pushed through his fear. "Then explain it to me." "I sent 1,350,000 naira on the 25th of every month. 14 months, that is 18,900,000 naira. You sold your house for 38,500,000. You had your pension. Where is the money?" Victor looked at the bowl of rice. "You are asking the wrong question." "What is the right question?" "Where did you send it?" "To your account." "No." Victor raised his eyes. "You sent money. But you did not send it to me." Tunde took out his phone immediately. He logged into the family support account, entered 2 verification codes, and opened the transaction history. The payments were there. Every single one. He turned the screen toward Victor. "Look." Victor did not touch the phone. "That account stopped being mine 14 months ago. That is impossible. Call your bank." It was after 10, but Tunde Alo's private banking officer answered on the second ring. 7 minutes later, she confirmed that the beneficiary details had been changed on May 6th of the previous year, under a power of attorney submitted through the company, Alo's administrative office. The new account ended in 7441. Tunde had never seen it before. "Who submitted the document?" he asked. The banker hesitated. "The scanned request came through the authorized liaison attached to your Nigerian office. I can send the record to your secure email. Do it now." The document arrived at 10:29 p.m. Victor Alo's name appeared at the top. Victor Alo's signature appeared at the bottom. Tunde placed the phone before him. Victor studied the page for less than 5 seconds. "That is not my signature. It looks like yours. It looks like one I made 12 years ago." "What does that mean?" Victor leaned back. "When you opened your first depot, I signed a letter recommending Dili to the bank. My hand was stronger then. Whoever made this used that old signature." Tunde looked again. A sound came from the kitchen. The refrigerator motor had switched off. The apartment became so quiet that he could hear rainwater dripping from the balcony rail. he called Dele. His cousin answered with laughter in his voice. Atunda! Omo, where are you? Kigali or Nairobi? I saw your message this afternoon. I am in Ibadan. The laughter disappeared. Ibadan? I arrived today. You did not tell anybody. Hope no problem. I found my father outside Akinyele warehouse. There was a pause, then Dele sighed. Tund, I have been trying to manage that matter quietly because of your peace of mind. What matter? Uncle Victor has not been himself. He sold the house against advice. He invested money in some desperate schemes. When things failed, he started accusing people. I did not want to alarm you while you were handling the East Africa expansion. He says his bank details were changed. Another pause, shorter this time. Yes, he signed a power of attorney. He says he did not. My brother, an old man can forget. Please do not allow emotion to scatter your head. We have documents. Who is receiving the money? I will check with finance in the morning. You are director of operations. You approved the liaison request. Tunde, it is past 10. Let us not conduct an audit through phone call. Tunde looked at Victor, who had finally picked up a spoon, but was not eating. Come to Jericho at 8 tomorrow morning. I have a meeting in Lagos. Cancel it. 8:00 o'clock. He ended the call. Victor lifted one spoonful of rice, then placed it back in the bowl. You still trust him, he said. I trust evidence. No. You trust systems because systems do not ask why you were not there. Tunde stood sharply. What do you want me to say? That I should have known? That I should have guessed you had sold your home and were starving? I called you. I have no missed calls from you. I called 37 times. Tunde stopped. Victorello's voice did not rise. The first 5 times your assistant said you were in meetings. After that, the calls began going to a recorded message from your Nigerian office. I wrote 3 letters. I sent 4 emails. I came to your office in Lagos twice. They made me sit in reception for 6 hours the first time. The second time, security escorted me out. That did not happen. It happened to me. Tunde Allo's anger broke against those words and fell apart. Victor pushed the bowl away. You built a company that could move 120 tons of rice from Oyo to Lagos before sunset, but a message from your father could not reach you in 14 months. Tunde had no answer. That night, Victor slept in the guest room. Tunde remained at the dining table until 3:18 a.m., reading the power of attorney again and again. At 3:20, he noticed the document metadata. The scanned file had been created on a workstation registered to the office of the Nigerian Director of Operations. Dele Ilo's office. And at 3:27, Tunde found something else. The signature was not the only thing copied from an old document. A tiny ink smudge, shaped like a hook, appeared beneath the last letter of Victor Allo's name. Tunde remembered it clearly. On the original recommendation letter from 12 years earlier, the smudge had come from a leaking pen. A living hand could repeat a signature. It could not repeat an old accident in exactly the same place. The document was forged. Dele arrived at 8:26 the next morning wearing a charcoal suit, polished black shoes, and the expression of a man who had rehearsed concern in the mirror. He entered the apartment carrying fruit, bottled water, and a leather file. Uncle Victor! He said warmly. See how you have reduced. Why did you refuse the help we arranged for you? Victor did not answer. Dele placed the fruit on the table and turned to Tunde. My brother, you should have called me the moment you landed. This is why family matters should not be handled in anger. Tunde sat with both hands folded. What help did you arrange? A managed account, medical support, accommodation. Uncle rejected everything. Which accommodation? Dele Allo's eyes moved briefly toward Victor, a retirement facility outside Ibadan. Very decent place. Victor laughed once, without humor. The place where you wanted me to sign that I could no longer manage my affairs? Uncle, nobody said that. You brought 2 men and a form. They were social workers. They were not. Dealey exhaled like a patient man being tested. Tunde, you see what I mean? Every attempt to help becomes an attack in his mind. Tunde tapped the leather file. What is inside? Dealey opened it. The first document was a complaint, alleging that Victor had diverted 46,700,000 naira from an employee hardship fund. The second contained copies of cash withdrawal slips. The third carried statements from 2 finance employees, claiming Victor had requested payments outside approved procedure. The fourth was a short medical note from a private clinic recommending further assessment for possible confusion, paranoia, and impaired financial judgment. Tund read every page without changing expression. Victor remained by the window. Deal lowered his voice. I did not submit everything to the police because he is your father. I was protecting the family name by banning him from the warehouse. He was creating scenes by changing his bank account. He authorized it. The signature was copied from an old recommendation letter. For the first time, Delialo's face tightened, only for a second. Then he shook his head slowly. Tunde, be careful. You have just returned. You are tired, emotional, and shocked by what you saw. A copied-looking signature does not prove fraud. The file was created on your workstation. Documents pass through my office every day. Who owns account 7441? I told you. Finance will confirm. You have had 12 hours. Dealey leaned back. My brother, are you questioning me as your cousin or as the company director? Both, then question yourself also. I have carried Nigeria operations on my head while you were flying from one capital to another. I handled strikes, fuel shortages, customs delays, supplier riots, and your father owes behavior. Now you enter without warning, see one dramatic moment, and look at me as if I am a criminal. Victor turned from the window. Dramatic moment? Deal faced him. Uncle, please. Start. A man kicked me for asking for food and you call it drama. I did not order anybody to kick you. You ordered them to treat me as rubbish. The leg only completed the instruction. Deal stood. His concern disappeared. You know what your problem is, Uncle? You believe age gives you ownership of every room. This company is not the cooperative office, where people trembled because you carried a red pen. You sold your house. You scattered your pension. You gave money to people who know how to cry. Now you want to blame management because reality has reached you. Victor Allo's face went still. Tunde watched Dealey carefully. Sit down, he said. Deal looked at him. Sit. After a moment, Dealey obeyed. Tunde closed the file. I am not making any public decision today. You will continue preparing for the supplier forum. You will not know when or where I am inspecting. You will not contact my father directly. You will preserve every financial record connected to the hardship fund, staff payroll and supplier accounts from the last 24 months. Dele Elo's shoulders relaxed slightly. Good. That is the mature approach. I am also commissioning an independent review. Of course. And Deal? Yes. If one email, one access log, or one bank instruction disappears, I will treat it as deliberate destruction of evidence. Deal held his gaze. Understood. He stood, adjusted his cuff, and picked up the empty leather file. At the door, he turned toward Victor. I still pray you find peace, Uncle. Victor Allo's reply was quiet. Peace is not hiding from truth. Peace is when truth no longer has to beg at your gate. Day left. The door closed. Tunde waited until the lift moved before speaking. I do not believe him. Victor looked almost disappointed. But you do not yet believe me. I believe the power of attorney was forged. That is not the whole matter. Then tell me the whole matter. Victor looked at the breakfast tray. Tea had gone cold. Bread remained untouched. The first complaints started 14 months ago, he said. A group of farmers from 3 cooperatives came to the Mokola house. Their rice had been delivered, weighed and accepted, but payment did not enter. They had borrowed money for seed, fertilizer and transport. The bank was already calling them. Why did they come to you? Because your company carries our surname. Tunde lowered his eyes. Victor continued, I called the Ibadan office. They said payment was delayed because of reconciliation. 2 weeks later, 11 casual workers came. No salary for 3 months. One had been locked out of his room. Another had stopped buying his medicine. I called Dili. What did he say? That cash flow was tight. That foreign expansion had consumed money. That I should not allow poor people to manipulate me. Cash flow was not tight. I know that now. What did you do? I paid the most urgent cases. With your pension? With what I had. How much? Victor did not answer immediately. 12,700,000 from savings and pension. Later, when more people came, I sold the house. Tunde stared at him. All 38.5 million? Not at once. Some went to settle rent arrears, some to medical bills, some to farm loans. I kept records. In a metal box at the room where I stay, Tunde stood. We are going there. Victor did not move. What? Tunde asked. You are still counting only what can enter a spreadsheet. That is how we prove what happened. And after you prove it, I will return every kobo. To whom? To you. Victor shook his head. That money did not leave me because I was cheated by those workers. It left because they were cheated by your company. If you return it only to me, you have repaired your comfort, not the wrong. The sentence landed hard. Tunde sat again. For years, people had praised his decisiveness. Investors said he could reduce a crisis to numbers before others finished panicking. Victor was showing him the weakness inside that strength. Numbers could tell him how much had disappeared. They could not tell him who had slept hungry because of it. The room Victor rented was behind a mechanic workshop off a narrow road near Okado. It measured barely 3 meters by 4. A foam mattress lay on the floor. 2 shirts hung from nails. A plastic bucket stood beside a single hot plate. The window had no curtain, only a piece of faded fabric tied across its slit. Tunde entered and stopped. There was no television, no refrigerator, no proper chair. On the wall was a framed photograph of Tunde at 26, standing beside his first delivery truck. Victor was beside him in the picture, smiling with both hands on his son Alo's shoulders. Daddy. Victor crouched beside the mattress and pulled out a dented blue metal box. Inside were receipts, photocopied identity cards, handwritten acknowledgements, bank teller slips, rent notices, and small pieces of paper carrying phone numbers. The records were not perfect. Some were stained. Some had no official stamp. But they formed a pattern. One payment of 487,000 naira had gone to settle 3 months of rent for 11 workers in a shared building. Another of 913,000 had cleared part of a farmer, Elo's overdue loan. 261,000 covered medical treatment for a warehouse employee. Smaller transfers of 47,000, 63,000 and 89,000, repeated across the months. Tunde sat on the edge of the mattress, sorting the papers. Why did you not tell me the house was sold? I tried. Why did you keep paying after it became clear the company was not correcting the problem? Victor looked at him as if the answer should have been obvious. Because hunger does not pause while rich people investigate. Outside, a mechanic struck metal with a hammer. The sharp sound rang through the room. Tunde picked up a folded letter addressed to him. The envelope was stamped and returned. On the front, somebody had written, "Recipient unavailable. Refer all family correspondence to Nigerian operations." The handwriting belonged to an office assistant, whose name Tunde recognized. He opened the letter. "Tunde, I am writing because talking has become difficult. There are workers here who have not been paid, and farmers whose produce was accepted without settlement. D says everything is under control, but the numbers I have seen do not agree. I am asking you to come home before this becomes bigger than money. Your father." The letter was dated September 14th. Tunde remembered that day. He had been in Kigali signing a distribution agreement. He had stood beneath cameras while journalists asked him how African businesses could build trust across borders. At home, his father, Alo's warning had been returned unopened. Victor began placing the records back into the box. "Leave them," Tunde said. "I need copies. You can copy them here. You do not trust me to take them. I trusted your system with my calls." Tunde accepted the rebuke. At 1:42 p.m., while he photographed the records, someone knocked on the metal door. Sade entered, carrying 2 food containers in a nylon bag. She was a broad-shouldered woman with tired eyes and flour on the sleeve of her blouse. "Pa Victor, I brought beans and yam," she said. Then she noticed Tunde. "Ah, sorry. I did not know you had visitor." Victor stood. "Sad, this is my son." She looked at Tunde for a long moment. The Billionaire. Tunde had heard the title in boardrooms, airports, and television interviews. In that small room, it sounded like an accusation. "Yes, ma." Sad placed the food on the hot plate. "So you have finally seen him?" Tunde Alo's throat tightened. "I have." "Good." She turned to leave. Victor stopped her. "Bring your book." Sade looked at him. "Which one?" "The food book." Her face changed. "Pa Victor, leave that matter. Tund needs to understand." She returned 20 minutes later with an exercise book covered in brown paper. Inside were dates, names, meals, and small payments written in blue ink. June 3rd, Pa Victor paid for 4 loaders, rice and beans, 3,600. June 8th, Pa Victor paid for Widow Alo's rice, 9,200. June 17th, Pa Victor paid part, balance later. July 1st, Pa Victor bought food for 7 former workers. The entries continued for 9 months. Tunde turned the pages slowly. "How much does he owe you?" Sade folded her arms. "That is not why I brought it. I am asking 83,400. Tunde reached for his phone. Sade slapped the book shut. "Do not insult me." He looked up. "You think because you can transfer money quickly, every matter should close quickly. I did not feed him so that his rich son would pay me with 1 finger and feel clean. I am not trying to feel clean. Then listen before you pay." Her voice filled the small room. "This man came to my shop when workers were crying. He bought food for people who had abused him the week before. When his own money finished, he would drink water and tell me he had eaten at home. There was no food at home, I knew, but he still asked me to serve other people first." Victor looked away. Sade continued. "People who are trying to stop others from sleeping hungry do not always remember to build a case for themselves. So I wrote it down. Not because I knew you would come. Because poor people Alo's memory is always questioned when rich people Alo's documents are speaking." Tunde placed his phone on the mattress. "I am listening." "Then ask why your company Alo's charity posters were everywhere, while the same workers used in those photographs could not buy Gary." Victor Alo's eyes moved to his son. Tunde felt heat rise to his face. He had approved those campaigns. He had praised the Nigerian team for improving community visibility. One photograph had shown Dile distributing bags of rice beneath a banner that read "Dignity in every home." Tund now wondered how many of those bags had returned to the warehouse after the cameras left. That afternoon, he called the company Alo's head of compliance. Zainab answered cautiously. Sir? I need every report you submitted concerning supplier duplication, delayed wages, or beneficiary changes in the last 18 months. Silence. Zainab? Sir. Should I route the request through Ogadele? No. Another silence. I have submitted reports before, she said. Nothing happened. I never received them, sir. Your office acknowledged too. Send me the acknowledgements. I cannot access the archive from outside the office. Meet me tomorrow morning. Where? Tunde chose a public cafe near Dugby, away from company property. Zainab arrived at 7:12 a.m. She wore a navy blouse, carried no laptop, and kept looking through the glass door. Tunde showed her the forged power of attorney. She studied it, then pressed her lips together. I flagged this account change. When? May 9th last year. The beneficiary name did not match the original account holder. I asked for physical verification. What happened? Ogadile said it was a sensitive family arrangement and outside compliance scope. Do you have the report? My account access was restricted after the third report. I began keeping reference numbers offline. Why did you not contact me directly? Zainab looked at him with careful disbelief. Sir, through which channel? Your Nigerian office filtered all direct messages. Your assistant referred everything back to Ogadele. The last employee who tried to bypass him was transferred to a depot 211 kilometers away. Tund sat back. What else did you flag? 6 supplier companies. Different registration addresses, same verification phone, same device, fingerprint. They received 73,400,000 naira in 20 months. Who approved them? Final approval came from the Director of Operations. Dell. Yes, can you prove it? If the system logs have not been deleted. Tunda leaned closer. Access the archive today. I may lose my job. If the records are clean, nobody will touch you. And if they are not clean? Tunde did not answer quickly enough. Zainab Alo's expression hardened. That is what everybody says when they need a witness. Afterwards, the witness becomes the problem. She stood. Tunde took the unopened letter from his father Alo's metal box and placed it on the table. My father wrote this to me. It was returned by my own office. Yesterday I found him begging for rice outside a warehouse with my surname on the gate. Zainab read the first lines. Tunde Alo's voice dropped. I cannot promise there will be no risk. I can promise the evidence will not disappear into my office again. She remained standing for several seconds. Then she sat down. Give me 48 hours, she said. Before those 48 hours ended, Dile moved first. At 4:05 p.m. that day, every company location received an internal notice stating that Victor Adebayo was an unauthorized outsider under investigation for financial misconduct. Staff were instructed not to admit him, disclose records to him, or engage with any allegations he made. At 4:31 p.m., the remaining balance in Victor Alo's old savings account was frozen following a complaint connected to the missing hardship fund. At 5:02 p.m., 2 officers delivered an invitation requesting Victor Alo's appearance for questioning. The invitation was lawful on its face. The timing was not. Tunde read it at the Jericho apartment while Victor buttoned his faded shirt. You are not going alone, Tunde said. I did not ask you to come. I am coming. Victor looked at him. Yesterday you wanted to save me with anger. Today you want to save me with your name. Both are dangerous if you do not understand what happened. I understand enough. No, you understand that Dili may have stolen. You do not yet understand why people allowed him. Fear. Convenience, Victor said. Fear is honest. Convenience wears a tie and calls itself procedure. At the station, Victor answered every question. He provided the records he had copied, explained the payments, and denied taking money from the hardship fund. Tunde did not interfere. He sat beside him for 3 hours, listening. The officers did not arrest Victor. They scheduled a follow-up interview pending verification. Outside, Tunde said, "I will get the complaint withdrawn." Victor stopped beneath the station light. "No, Daddy, it is false." "Then let it be examined and shown to be false. Do not use power to remove a process, because today the process is touching your family. Fix the process so it does not crush people who have no powerful son." Tunde stared at him. Victor began walking toward the car. For the first time since returning, Tunde understood that his father was not asking to be rescued. He was asking to be heard. The next morning, Tunde changed the way he entered his own company. He left his usual watch in the apartment, wore a plain grey shirt, dark trousers, and safety boots, and traveled with 2 members of the independent audit team under the shortened name TRD. He carried no entourage. No photographer followed him. The regional warehouses had expanded so quickly that many employees knew the founder only from a few old photographs, usually taken in a suit and printed in annual reports. At Akinyele, nobody connected the quiet man, holding a clipboard with the billionaire, whose signature sat at the bottom of their employment contracts. That was how Tunde heard the truth when nobody thought the truth was listening. A receiving clerk explained that good rice was sometimes marked as moisture damaged after weighing. The bags were moved to a side store and later sold through private buyers. Casual workers were charged unexplained equipment deductions for boots they never received. Small farmers who complained about delayed payment were told their grain had failed quality tests, even when the same grain had already been processed and shipped. At 11:23 a.m., Tunde watched a warehouse manager tear a page from a delivery book and replace it with another sheet carrying a lower weight. "Why are you changing the figure?" Tunde asked. The manager barely looked at him. "Consultant, face the work they gave you. Do not put your village curiosity inside warehouse calculation. The first figure was 12,437 kilograms, and now it is 11,890. What happened to the difference?" The manager smiled. "Maybe the rice became afraid and ran away." 2 clerks laughed. Tunde wrote nothing. He only looked at the security camera above the scale and noted its identification number. Behind the warehouse, he found 43 bags bearing the logo of the company, Aloe's Food Relief Program. The bags were full. Their seals were unbroken. A loader explained in a low voice that the bags had been taken to a community event the previous week, arranged behind smiling officials for photographs, then returned after the event. "How many were distributed?" Tunde asked. "7, sir. There are 50 in the photograph." The loader shrugged. Camera does not count hunger. At another depot, a supervisor boasted that dealer had taught them how to control complaints. "Poor suppliers make noise because noise is the only thing they have." The man said. "Ogadele always says hungry people complain loudly because they have nothing valuable to lose." Tunde felt something cold move beneath his ribs. That sentence did not sound like a thief protecting money. It sounded like a culture. By the 3rd day, he had seen enough to understand that Dele Aklo's corruption did not live inside one account. It had spread through language, incentives, and fear. Managers copied his contempt because contempt had become a shortcut to promotion. Workers who asked questions were marked as difficult. Suppliers who insisted on documentation waited longer for payment. Charity was treated as publicity, while genuine need was treated as an inconvenience. Tunde returned to Jericho after 9 p. and found Victor sitting at the table with the medicine arranged beside him. "You were right," Tunde said. Victor did not ask about what. Tunde sat down. "I saw altered weights, false damage records, relief bags used for photographs, wage deductions. People spoke about poor workers as if poverty was a character defect." Victor poured water into a glass. "Who taught them?" Dele encouraged it. "Who rewarded Dele?" Victor drank the water. "My company rewarded results," Tunde said after a moment. "Results without method are only numbers wearing clean clothes." Tund leaned forward. "I am going to repay you everything. The house, the pension, the unpaid support. I have already asked my lawyer to prepare a property transfer. There is a bungalow near Bodia, quiet street, good security." Victor Ayo's face changed, not with gratitude but anger. "You have seen all this, and your first answer is still a house? You need somewhere decent to live. So do the workers who were chased from their rooms. I will settle them too. When? After the audit confirms the claims. And before then, we must follow procedure." Victor pushed his chair back. "Now you are speaking like deal. That is unfair. No, it is uncomfortable. There is a difference." Tunde stood also. "What do you expect me to do? Empty company accounts because people bring handwritten notes? I am responsible for 900 employees, lenders, suppliers, and investors. I cannot turn every painful story into an immediate payment." Victor Elo's voice rose for the first time. "And I could not turn every hungry face into a future audit." Silence crashed into the room. Victor Elo's chest moved quickly. He pressed one hand to the table, then lowered his voice. "You think I sold my house because I do not understand money. I spent 37 years checking cooperative accounts. I know what weak documentation can do. But when a man Alo's landlord is putting his mattress outside, do you first request 3 quotations? When a farmer Alo's land is about to be seized, do you ask hunger to wait for quarter-end approval?" Tunde clenched his jaw. "I am trying to fix this." "No, you are trying to make it stop hurting you. That is not true. Then stop carrying me on your head as the only victim. I am not the center of this matter." Victor walked to the guest room and closed the door. Tunde remained beside the table. On the counter lay the property papers for the Bodija bungalow. He picked them up, looked at the neat pages, then placed them inside a drawer. The next morning, he ordered emergency payments for verified salary arrears using existing payroll records, without waiting for the entire fraud review to conclude. He also created a temporary hardship window run by the independent auditors, not by Nigerian operations. Claims required basic evidence, but urgent rent, medical, and farm loan cases were processed within 48 hours. It was not charity. It was money already owed. When Tunde told Victor, the old man only nodded. It was not forgiveness, but it was the first sign that he had heard. Zainab contacted Tunde at 2:16 a.m., 2 nights later. "I found the archive," she whispered. "Where are you?" "At home. I copied the reference files to encrypted storage." "What did you find?" "The beneficiary change was approved at 11:17 p.m. from Oga Dele Ilo's office computer. His access token was used. There are also emails instructing Finance to remove 6 suppliers from enhanced verification." "Can he claim somebody used his token?" "He can claim anything. But the building access log shows his entry at 10:54 p.m. and exit at 11:41 p.m. The device fingerprint matches." Tunde stood from the bed. "What about my father Alo's calls?" "There is a communications routing rule attached to his number. All calls were diverted to an internal mailbox marked Family Escalation. 37 call records. None reached you." Tunde closed his eyes. "Who created the rule?" "An administrator under Dele Alo's instruction. I found the email." Send everything to the independent auditors. I will, Zainab, leave the office tomorrow. Do not go back. It may already be too late. The line went dead. At 8:05 a.m., Zainab Allo's company account was disabled. At 8:19, an internal notice accused her of unauthorized access and possible data theft. At 9:03, Deal called an emergency management meeting and announced that a disgruntled compliance officer, C, had conspired with Victor to fabricate allegations. By noon, Zainab had received a formal invitation for questioning in connection with the missing hardship fund records. Deal had changed direction. He was no longer only erasing Victor. He was building a new thief. Tunde met Zainab at the independent auditor's Allo office in Lagos. She arrived carrying a small handbag and the exhaustion of somebody who had not slept. I knew this would happen, she said. You protected the records, and now everybody in the company will say I stole them. The access logs will show you copied records after reporting concerns. If they are allowed to speak, they will speak. Zainab looked at him. Sir, evidence does not speak by itself. Somebody gives it a microphone. Tunde thought of the supplier forum scheduled for 6 days later. Dale would be on stage before board members, banks, farmers, workers, and media. The program included a segment titled Protecting Community Resources Through Transparency. Deal had arranged it himself. Tunde made his decision. He will have his microphone, he said. Then we will connect the truth to it. The audit team spent the next 5 days matching records. The 6 supplier companies had different names and different registered addresses, but 5 shared one verification telephone number. All 6 had been accessed from the same device on 29 occasions. Payments traveled through layered accounts and eventually reached entities linked to Dile Allo's associates. 2 luxury vehicles and a property in Lagos had been purchased within days of major transfers. The total trace diversion stood at 73,400,000 naira. The support payment stolen from Victor added another 18,900,000, 92,300,000 naira. The number looked clean on paper. Its consequences were not. The audit team matched Victor Allo's 38,500,000 naira house sale and 12,700,000 in savings to payments made on behalf of 61 workers and 23 farmers. Some transfers were direct. Others were confirmed through landlord receipts, clinic records, cooperative loan statements, and Sad Allo's food ledger. The evidence was not perfect. Together, it was overwhelming. Tunde also listened to the recording Zainab had preserved from a management meeting held 11 months earlier. Dile Allo's voice came first. Block the old man. He is making suppliers bold. Another voice asked, what if the chairman hears? Tunde hears what enters his calendar. By the time he returns, everybody will believe his father stole the money. There was laughter in the room. Tunde replayed the recording 3 times. On the 4th, Victor entered the audit office. He listened without sitting. When Dele Al's voice reached the final sentence, Victor Al's face did not change. He simply looked at his son. Tunde stopped the audio. I should have heard you, he said. Victor remained silent. I remember the call, Tunde continued. 8 months ago, you started talking about unpaid workers. I told you Dele handled Nigeria. I said you should not turn every complaint into a family emergency. Yes, I was wrong. Victor looked toward the window. Tunde Allo's voice broke slightly. I was not too busy to listen. I decided your concern was less important than what I was doing. That is the truth. Victor sat at last. You sent money because money was easier than conversation. Yes. You called your assistant to remember my medication, your banker to send my allowance, and Deal to handle my complaints. You outsourced being a son. Tunde absorbed the words without defense. I did. Victor turned to him. Delis stole from me. But before he stole the money, he studied the empty space between us. Tunde Alo's eyes filled. I cannot change the last 14 months. No. But I can change what happens next. That depends on what you think next means. Tunde opened the drawer beside him, removed the Bodija property papers, and placed them before Victor. I prepared this 3 days ago. Victor did not touch them. I am not asking you to accept it now, Tunde said. I am showing you what I was still thinking. I thought a better house would prove I had repaired things. He tore the unsigned transfer form in half. Victor watched. The salary arrears are being paid, Tunde continued. The urgent supplier cases are being processed. After the forum, I will propose an independent complaints office, dual approval for beneficiary changes, and full ownership verification for suppliers. No family member will control a complaint involving another family member. And the people who remain silent? They will be protected if they testify truthfully. And those who abused workers because Dilly rewarded them? They will face discipline. Not because I am angry, but because the culture must change. Victor looked at the torn property papers. You are beginning. It was the closest thing to approval Tunde had received. That evening, Victor returned to Saad Alo's canteen near Akinyele. The place had 6 plastic tables, a metal counter, and a generator that coughed every few minutes. Tund went with him. A former loader sat in the corner, staring at a plate he had not paid for. It was the same man who had looked away while the warehouse supervisor kicked Victor Alo's wrist. When Victor entered, the man stood quickly. Pa, Victor, I am sorry. Victor sat beside him. You were afraid. I should have spoken. Yes, the man lowered his head. Victor divided his rice into 2 portions and pushed half across the table. The man began to cry. I do not deserve this. Victor picked up his spoon. Food is not a medal for good behavior. Eat. Tunde watched his father share the first proper meal he had accepted in days with someone who had failed him. Kindness, he realized, was not softness. Sometimes it was the strongest refusal to become like the person who had hurt you. The loader agreed to testify. So did 9 others. The night before the forum, Deal released a final announcement to senior staff. At the event, he said, the company would publicly identify the individual responsible for stealing resources meant for vulnerable workers and farmers. He did not write Victor Alo's name. He did not need to. By then, rumors had done the work. At 11:38 p.m., Tunde received the event program. Victor O's photograph had been inserted into Dile Alo's presentation. The image showed him outside a Kinyele warehouse, bending beside the torn sack of rice. The frame had been cropped. The supervisor Alo's raised foot was missing. The spilled rice was missing. The humiliation had been edited into guilt. Tunde stared at the photograph. Then he sent one instruction to the technical team, working with the independent auditors. Do not remove Dele Alo's presentation. Let him show everything. The Harvest Dignity Partnership Forum opened at 10 a.m. in a hotel conference hall on Victoria Island. The room had been dressed to look generous. Tall banners carried photographs of smiling farmers. White tablecloths covered 72 round tables. A row of polished rice bags stood near the stage beneath the words, Feeding Nigeria with Integrity. Bank representatives sat beside cooperative leaders. Board members occupied the front section. Journalists adjusted cameras near the back. Deal moved through the hall in a deep blue suit, shaking hands and accepting praise. He looked completely at home. That was the danger of polished wickedness. It did not enter wearing horns. It arrived early, checked the microphone, and greeted everybody by name. Victor came through a side entrance at 10:41 with 2 security officers assigned to accompany him. He wore a simple cream kaftan that Sade had insisted he accept. His wrist carried no watch. When people recognized him, whispers moved from table to table. That is the chairman Alo's father. They said he took the hardship money. Why would a man from that family steal? Greed does not know family. Victor heard enough to understand the rest. He walked without lowering his head. Toon sat 3 rows from the back beside the independent audit team, dressed in the same plain grey shirt he had worn during the inspections. Only the board chair and 2 legal advisors knew he was in the hall. Dele believed Tunde was still reviewing documents from a private office in Lagos. At 11:18, Dele stepped onto the stage. Distinguished partners, respected farmers, hard-working staff. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, integrity is not a slogan. It is the foundation on which trust stands. The words rolled smoothly from his mouth. He praised the company, Alo's expansion, its relief program, and its commitment to vulnerable communities. Photographs appeared behind him, Deal handing bags to elderly women, Deal shaking hands with farmers, Deal standing beside smiling workers. Some of those relief bags had returned to the warehouse before sunset. At 11:36, he lowered his voice. Unfortunately, even the most compassionate system can be attacked from within. Over the past year, funds meant for struggling employees and small suppliers were diverted through unauthorized cash requests. The person involved used family access, emotional pressure, and the respect attached to an older name. The screen changed. Victor Alo's cropped photograph appeared. A man bending near a sack of rice. No raised foot, no muddy ground, no sign that he had been begging for what the warehouse intended to discard. Only a picture prepared to look like theft. Gasps moved through the hall. Della turned toward Victor. Chief Victor Adebayo. You were given many private opportunities to explain 46,700,000 naira in missing hardship funds. Instead, you spread allegations against innocent staff and attempted to damage the company your son built. Victor remained seated. Deal raised one hand toward the security officers. For the sake of transparency, we have invited the relevant investigators. Nobody is above accountability, not even family. Applause. Began in one corner, uncertain at first, then stronger as employees loyal to Deely joined. Victor stood. The applause weakened. He looked directly at Deely. You have spoken for 11 minutes, he said. May I speak for one? Dill smiled sadly, as if humoring a confused relative. Uncle, this is not the place for another emotional outburst. You brought my photograph here. We brought evidence. Then allow evidence to answer. Deal turned to security. Please escort him outside before this becomes undignified. One officer moved toward Victor. A chair scraped at the back of the hall. Before anyone removes my father, Toon said, perhaps the man who stole from him should finish his presentation. Every head turned. Tunde walked down the aisle. The hall changed around him. People rose. Cameras swung. A board member dropped his pen, and the small object struck the glass table with a sharp click. Dele Alo's smile froze. Ptund, he said. You are here. I have been here long enough. Deely stepped away from the lectern. Good. Then you can confirm that we agreed to handle this through proper channels. We agreed to preserve records. Yes. You disabled Zainab Alo's account, accused her of theft, and prepared a public attack on my father. Because new evidence emerged. No, because old evidence survived. Tunde reached the stage. The technical screen went black. Deal glanced toward the operator. What is happening? Tunde took the second microphone. Your presentation is over. A transaction record appeared behind them. Tunde faced the audience. For 14 months, 1 million. 350,000 naira was transferred every month for my father Alo's support. He did not receive it. The screen displayed the beneficiary change. The account was changed through a power of attorney submitted from the Nigerian Operations Office. The signature was copied from a 12-year-old recommendation letter. The copied document reproduced an ink smudge from the original in exactly the same position. The original letter appeared beside the forged form. The matching mark was circled. A murmur spread across the hall. DL lifted his microphone. Nah, this proves only that an old document may have been reused by an administrator. Tunde nodded. Nah, that is why we checked the system. The next screen showed an access record. May 6th, 11:17 p.m. The beneficiary change was approved from the workstation inside the Director of Operations Alo office. The Director Alo's access token was used. The building log records Dele Okonkwo entering at 10:54 p.m. and leaving at 11:41. Dele Alo's face hardened. Somebody used my workstation. Then, perhaps, the same person used your token on 29 different occasions to approve 6 supplier companies. 6 names appeared, different addresses. The same verification number, the same device fingerprint, the same final approver. Dele, Tunde continued. These companies received 73,400,000 naira. Funds moved through related accounts and were followed by the purchase of 2 luxury vehicles and 1 property in Lagos, connected to entities controlled by Dele Alo's associates. One of the bank representatives leaned forward. Board members began whispering urgently. Deal raised his voice. Sir, this is a preliminary interpretation. You cannot stand here and accuse me based on incomplete tracing. I built these operations while you were outside Nigeria collecting praise. Tunde looked at him. You are correct about one thing. I was outside Nigeria. The admission silenced the room. Tunde turned toward Victor. My father called me 37 times. The screen displayed the communication log. His number was diverted into an internal mailbox labeled Family Escalation. His letters were returned. His emails were answered by people instructed to keep him away from me. Dele Alo's breathing became visible. That routing was for protection. Uncle Victor was harassing staff. Victor spoke from the floor. I was reporting unpaid wages. Deal pointed at him. You were demanding money without approved documentation. Money already owed to workers, Victor replied. Tunde signaled to the operator. The next image showed the sale deed for the Mokola bungalow. My father sold his home for 38,500,000 naira. He used another 12,700,000 from pension and savings. Independent verification traced the money to rent, medical bills, farm loans and food for 61 workers and 23 farmers whose payments had been withheld. Saad Alo's ledger appeared on the screen beside clinic receipts. Landlord acknowledgements and cooperative statements. Said stood near the middle of the hall. She held up the brown-covered exercise book. I wrote every meal, she said. Not because anybody promised me a contract, because I knew one day rich documents would call a hungry man a liar. Several workers rose behind her. The loader who had once looked away spoke with a shaking voice. Pa Victor paid my rent when the company owed me 3 months, Alo's salary. I was at the gate when they humiliated him. I was afraid to speak. What they are showing is true. Another worker stood. Then another. A farmer raised a payment demand notice from his cooperative bank. Deal looked around the hall and saw the crowd moving beyond his control. He laughed suddenly. So, this is the plan? Gather poor people, give them a story, and use emotion to destroy the man who kept this company alive. Zainab walked onto the stage. Deal stared at her. You. She wore a simple dark dress and carried no papers. The records are with 3 independent custodians, she said. Deleting my account did not delete the archive. Delialo's voice sharpened. You accessed confidential systems without authorization. I submitted 3 compliance reports. You suppressed them. That is a lie. Tunde pressed a button on the lectern. Dele Ilo's recorded voice filled the hall. Block the old man. He is making suppliers bold. A second voice asked what would happen if Tunde heard. Then Delialo's answer came, clear and careless. Tund hears what enters his calendar. By the time he returns, everybody will believe his father stole the money. Nobody breathed. The recording ended. A glass slipped from somebody Elo's hand near the front table. It struck the floor and shattered. Del looked at the board, then at the cameras, then at Tunde. His face had lost its polish. You recorded a private meeting, he said to Zainab. I preserved evidence after you ordered the destruction of reports. You ungrateful office rat. I lifted you from ordinary compliance work and gave you a seat near management. You gave me a seat so my silence would look professional. A few people murmured approval. Deal turned to Tunde. My brother, listen to me. Whatever accounting adjustments happened, they happened under pressure. Your expansion drained Nigeria. Suppliers were shouting. Staff were restless. I moved money to keep operations stable. You bought vehicles. Assets can be sold. You stole my father Alo's allowance. I was managing a difficult old man who refused help. Victor Alo's eyes closed briefly. There it was. Not denial. Contempt. Deal stepped closer to Tunde and lowered his voice, forgetting the microphone was still live. Do not disgrace family because of these people. They will collect money today and insult you tomorrow. Poor people have no loyalty. The words traveled through every speaker in the hall. A sound rose from the audience, not quite a shout, not quite a gasp. Tunde looked at the workers, farmers, and canteen owner Dile had reduced to these people. Then he looked at his father. I need to say something that is not in the audit, or Tunde said. He faced the hall. Or Dele committed the fraud. The records show that. But fraud grows where somebody gives it room. My father called for help, and I sent money instead of listening. Staff raised concerns, and my office returned them to the same man they were reporting. I celebrated growth while people carrying that growth were not paid. The board members stopped whispering. Tunde continued. I cannot stand here as an innocent billionaire who has come to rescue everybody. My absence did not steal the money, but it protected the thief. I take responsibility for that. Victor looked at his son for a long moment. This time, something in his face softened. The board chair rose. Pending full investigation, Dele Okonkwo is suspended from all duties with immediate effect. His system access is revoked. All relevant records will be transferred to independent investigators, and preservation orders will be sought over assets linked to the disputed funds. Dele stepped back. You cannot suspend me like a messenger. The chair Alo's reply was cold. We are suspending you like an executive who has lost the board Alo's confidence. Security approached. Deal pointed toward Tunde. This company will collapse without me. Tunde answered. Any company that survives only by hiding hunger deserves to be rebuilt. As Dele was escorted from the stage, he had to pass the rows of workers and farmers he had mocked. Nobody touched him. Nobody needed to. The silence was heavier than any beating. The warehouse supervisor sat near the aisle. His face was wet with sweat. Tunde called his name. The supervisor stood slowly. Who ordered my father banned from the warehouse? Ogadele, sir. And who kicked him? The supervisor Elo's lips trembled. I did, sir. Why? The supervisor looked toward Victor. Because I believed he was nobody. Victor walked to the stage steps. He did not demand that the supervisor kneel. He did not curse him. He did not ask the crowd to humiliate him in return. A hungry man is not a lesser man, Victor said. The day you believe poverty removes somebody, Aloe's dignity is the day your own character becomes poor. The supervisor lowered his head. I am sorry. Your apology does not cancel discipline, Victor replied, but discipline should teach, not only destroy. Tunde offered his father the chair at the center of the stage. Daddy, please sit here. Victor looked at the chair, then at the workers below. He walked past it. He sat beside the former loader who had once looked away. The cameras followed him. For once, the most powerful image in the room had not been arranged. Before the forum ended, Tunde announced the first corrective measures. Verified salary arrears would be paid in full. Suppliers whose accepted produce had gone unpaid would receive settlement, plus documented financing penalties. Workers wrongly dismissed for raising complaints would have their records reviewed and restored. An independent claims desk would remain open for 90 days. No claim would pass through the Office of Nigerian Operations. He also cancelled the staged food presentation. The 43 relief bags sitting in Akinyele warehouse were transferred that afternoon to an audited community food program, with quantities, recipients and delivery confirmations published internally. No politician held the bags for photographs. No executive gave a speech. The food simply reached people. 7 months later, the final audit was complete. The traced fraud remained 92,300,000 naira, excluding additional penalties and investigation costs. Preservation orders covered the 2 vehicles, the Lagos property, and several connected accounts. The criminal case continued through the proper process. DA had not been declared guilty by a conference hall, but he could no longer hide behind the authority of his office while investigators worked. The company did not recover overnight. Trust returned more slowly than money. All 61 workers and 23 farmers, identified in Victor Aloe's records, received what they were owed. Some received compensation for rent penalties, medical interruption, or farm loan charges. Employment files were corrected. Cooperative statements were reconciled. Independent financial counselors helped farmers restructure debts that could not be solved by one payment alone. Zainab was appointed head of ethics and compliance after a formal recruitment review. She reported to an audit committee, not to the managing director. Her first policy required 2-level verification for every beneficiary change and physical confirmation for elderly account holders, where risk indicators appeared. Supplier companies had to disclose their real owners. Complaints involving relatives of senior executives could no longer be handled inside the family chain. Every warehouse received a protected reporting channel. Retaliation became a disciplinary offense. Food safe for consumption, but damaged in packaging, was logged and transferred to approved food banks instead of being thrown away or privately sold. The warehouse supervisor lost his supervisory role and served a 3-month suspension. When he returned, it was as an ordinary inventory clerk under probation. He completed workplace conduct training and later volunteered to help design the damaged food procedure. Victor accepted his apology. He did not erase the consequence. Sade Alau's canteen applied for a small business support program through an open process. She submitted records, passed inspection, and received equipment financing available to other local food vendors on the same terms. Tunde did not hand her a private contract. When he told her the application had been approved, she nodded and said, "Good. Help that depends on friendship can become another form of corruption." Victor never accepted a board seat. "I spent too many years telling people to separate family from controls," he said. "I will not enter through the back door because the company now feels guilty." He agreed to serve for 1 year as an unpaid community advisor. His condition was simple. Every worker complaint had to receive a written response, even when management disagreed. Tunde bought a modest bungalow near Victor Allo's old neighborhood. He did not place the documents before his father as a surprise. He took Victor to inspect the house, showed him the cost, explained the ownership structure, and asked what he wanted. Victor chose the smaller bedroom because it faced the morning sun. On Friday evenings, Tunde called him directly. No assistant scheduled the calls. No administrator filtered them. Sometimes they spoke for 40 minutes. Sometimes Victor said only, "I am fine. Have you eaten?" Tunde learned not to fill silence with money. One Friday, he drove to Ibadan and took Victor back to Akinyele warehouse. The gate had been repainted, but the patch of concrete where the rice fell was still visible. Workers moved in and out beneath the evening sun. Nobody knew why Victor stopped there. A new loader pushed a trolley past them. One bag caught on a metal edge and tore open. Rice poured onto the floor. The young man froze. "Sir, please," he said to his supervisor. "Do not deduct it from my salary." The metal caught the bag. "I did not do it deliberately." Before the supervisor could answer, Victor bent down. He began gathering the clean grains into an empty container. Tunde removed his jacket and knelt beside him. The loader stared. "Chairman, sir, you do not have to do that." Tunde picked rice from the concrete. "My father once knelt here alone," he said. That was the problem. Other workers joined them. Nobody laughed. Nobody kicked a hand. Nobody called hunger dirty. When the grain had been gathered, the damaged bag was weighed, recorded, and transferred according to the new procedure. The loader signed the incident report. No illegal deduction touched his salary. Victor washed his hands beneath the outdoor tap. Tunde stood beside him. "Daddy," he said, "have I made it right?" Victor dried his hands slowly. "You have made some things better, only some. A person who thinks he has finished learning respect is already becoming dangerous." Tunde smiled. Victor looked toward the gate where the evening traffic moved through Akinyele. "Keep listening," he said. "That is how you continue." What stayed with me about Victor Allo's story was not that a billionaire eventually exposed a thief. Wealth can hire auditors, lawyers, and investigators. The harder lesson was that a man could send money home every month and still abandon his father inside silence. Tunde had confused provision with presence, and Dile used that distance as a hiding place. Respect is not proven by charity banners, expensive gifts, or speeches about helping the poor. It is revealed in how we treat the person who cannot advance our ambition, the worker whose name will never enter an annual report, and the hungry man standing at a gate with nothing to offer us. When somebody has to beg for food, food is not the only thing missing. They also need to be seen. They need to be heard. And above everything, they must still be treated as human.
Remove this girl before her poverty stains my marble floor. So sickness has now taught beggars how to enter executive buildings?
Ma, please, that letter is not for you. My mother said Mr. Niadiemi must read it himself. It is urgent.
Funkad Coca-Ulo's voice cracked across the grand lobby of Harbour Crest Tower like a whip. Every shoe stopped. Every head turned. Zara Okoro stood between two security officers, rainwater dripping from her faded dress onto the polished floor. One officer gripped her wrist. The other was dragging her towards the glass entrance, while wealthy executives watched as if she were rubbish being carried outside. "Ma, please," Zara cried. "That letter is not for you." "My mother," said Mr. Niadeyemi, "must read it himself." "It is urgent." Funka snatched the envelope from her hand. She looked at Zara Allo's worn sandals and laughed. So sickness has now taught beggars how to enter executive buildings. You came here with one dirty envelope, thinking a billionaire will adopt your suffering. Then she tore the letter in half. The sound was small. But Zara Allo's face broke. A faded photograph slipped from the envelope, spun once in the air, and landed at the feet of a man who had just stepped out of the private lift. Nobody breathed. Ni Adeyemi bent down and picked it up. In the photograph, a younger version of himself was holding Amaka Okoro, the woman he had once planned to marry. On the back, one sentence was written in trembling ink. Nii, the young woman they are throwing out of your building is the daughter you were never allowed to know. Nii slowly raised his eyes. Release her. Funke So's smile vanished. And before that day ended, one hidden letter, one poisoned lie, and one corrupted DNA test would tear apart everything she had protected for 21 years. Do not miss what happens next, because the person shouting the loudest in that lobby was hiding the darkest secret. Tell us your city or country and your local time in the comments. And subscribe now if you believe no human being should be judged by their clothes, their sickness, or the money in their pocket. It was 10:47 in the morning, on Thursday, July 9, when the atmosphere inside Harbour Crest Tower changed. Only 30 seconds earlier, the lobby had been moving with its normal, polished rhythm. Receptionists answered calls beneath a suspended brass sculpture. Consultants tapped at phones while waiting for lifts. A cleaner pushed a silent trolley along the far wall, careful not to disturb men whose watches could pay her yearly rent. Now everybody was watching Zara. The security officer holding her left arm loosened his grip first. His name tag read Bodhi, and shame moved across his face when he realized the man giving the order was the founder of the entire company. The second officer released her more slowly. Zara pulled both wrists to her chest. Red finger marks were already rising against her brown skin, but she did not rub them. She stared at the two torn halves of the letter in Funke Alo's hand. "Give it back," she said. Her voice was not loud. That made it heavier. Funke blinked once, then recovered. She was 45, elegant, disciplined, and known across Lagos business circles for never losing control of a room. Her cream suit had been cut in London. Her pearl earrings were small enough to suggest restraint and expensive enough to make the suggestion a lie. "Ninyi, this young woman forced her way past reception," she said. "She was creating a scene. I was only protecting the building by tearing a letter addressed to me. I believed it was another extortion attempt. You did not read it. I did not need to. Look at her." That was the moment Funke made her first mistake in public. Nii Alo's face did not change, but Lola George saw the muscle tighten beside his jaw. Lola was head of compliance at Adeyemi Urban and Health Infrastructure Group, and she had spent 9 years learning the difference between Nii Alo's ordinary silence and the silence that came before a decision. This was the second kind. Nii looked at Zara properly. She could not have been more than 21. Her dark blue dress was clean but old, with careful stitches at the hem where it had torn before. A canvas bag hung from one shoulder, heavy with papers. Her sandals had taken in enough rainwater to squeak whenever she shifted her weight. Yet she was standing straight. "Your name?" Nii asked. "Zara Okoro, sir." The surname struck him almost as hard as the photograph. He looked down again. He had forgotten that picture existed. It had been taken outside the old National Theatre in 2004, after a cheap stage play Amaka had insisted they attend. He remembered laughing because the photographer had told him not to squeeze his face. He remembered Amaka Alo's hand inside his. He remembered loving her. "Where is your mother?" "At Meridian Oncology Center in Ikeja." "Why?" Zara swallowed. "She has cervical cancer, sir. The doctors say it has spread beyond where surgery alone can solve it." She starts assessment for treatment today. But that is not why I came to beg you for money. Funke gave a sharp laugh. You people always say you are not begging immediately before you start begging. Zara turned to her. Ma, I did not speak to you. A few people inhaled. Funke Alo's eyes hardened. Do you know who you are talking to? Yes. The woman who tore another person Alo's private letter without permission. The cleaner at the far wall lowered her eyes quickly, hiding the beginning of a smile. Niyi held out his hand, the letter. Funke did not move. Funke. She placed the torn pieces in his palm. The lobby remained so quiet that the trickle of water from Zara Alo's dress sounded loud. Niyi aligned the torn edges. Some words had been lost where the paper had ripped through blue ink, but enough remained. Niyi, I am writing because time has finally become more expensive than my pride. The young woman carrying this letter is Zara. She is 21 years old. She was born on March 18, 2005. You are her father. I tried to tell you when I was pregnant. I wrote to your office. I sent emails. I came twice, but I was told you had instructed security never to admit me. Later, I received a message from your account saying you were engaged and wanted nothing to do with me or the child. I believed you had chosen your life. I am not asking you to love me again. I am not asking you to believe this paper without testing it. I am asking you to meet Zara before my treatment begins, because I do not know what my body will be able to carry in the coming months. Do not punish her for the decisions adults made before she was born. A marker. Below the signature was a phone number and a final line written more shakily than the rest. Please verify everything. Just do not humiliate her before you do. Ni read that line twice. Then he looked at the red marks on Zara Alo's wrists. Bode shifted his feet. Sir, he began. Madame Funke instructed us. I did not ask who instructed you. Ni Alo's voice stayed low. I asked you to release her. You have done that. Go and wait in the security office. Both officers left. Funke stepped closer. Ni, you cannot possibly take this seriously because of one old photograph and a sick woman, Alo's letter. A sick woman? Zara repeated. So you know my mother? The question landed before Funke could prepare for it. I know the name, she said. Ni mentioned her years ago. He mentioned that she was sick? I meant, you said a sick woman Al's letter. The letter was folded when you took it. You never read it. Lola lifted her head. Ni Alo's eyes moved to Funke. For half a second, something passed across her face. Not fear exactly. Recognition. Then it disappeared. Anybody carrying a hospital story into a corporate lobby is either sick or pretending to be. Funke said. Do not twist ordinary words. Zara opened her canvas bag and removed a transparent folder. I brought evidence, she said to Niyi. My birth certificate. Copies of 3 registered letters my mother sent to your old office. Printouts of emails. Her treatment summary. You can examine all of it without giving us 1 naira. Niyi looked at the folder, but did not take it immediately. He had built his career by distrusting urgency. Urgency made people careless. Urgency made investors sign bad contracts and families sell land below value. He had taught his executives to slow down whenever somebody said, "You must decide today." Yet the woman in that old photograph had once known the scar on his left knee, the name of the teacher who beat him in primary school, and the exact way he liked plantain fried. Not too soft, not too brown. That knowledge had no place in a fraudster Alo's script. "Lusa," he said. "Yes, sir. Book the small boardroom. Ask legal to send 1 person, not a crowd. Bring water and a first aid kit." Zara shook her head. "I do not need first aid. You are bleeding." She looked down. One of Funke Alo's rings had scratched the side of her hand when she grabbed the envelope. A thin red line had appeared. It is nothing. No injury becomes nothing Because the person who caused it is rich. The words surprised Funke. They surprised Nii too. He turned to Zara. You will come upstairs. You will explain everything once. Nobody will insult you. Nobody will touch you. After that, I will decide what can be verified today. Zara held his gaze. My mother Elo's scan review is by 1:30. I must return before then. We will be finished before 12. I came by BRT and 2 buses. Lagos traffic does not respect promises. I will take you back. No, sir. You do not have to behave like my father before you know whether you are. Nii felt the words in his chest. Funke felt them too. By 11:06, Zara was seated in the small boardroom on the 17th floor. The room had 12 leather chairs, a screen built into the wall, and a view of rain crawling down the windows over Victoria Island. She refused the coffee. She accepted water only after Lola opened the bottle in front of her. That small act did not escape Lola. Neither did the way Zara arranged her papers by date. The legal representative was a quiet woman called Tola Daniels. She placed her phone face down and asked Zara Alo's permission before making notes. Funke arrived without being invited. Nii looked at her. This is a private matter. I am your fiancé and the company's CFO. If somebody is attempting to compromise you, it affects both your personal and corporate interests. Zara Alo's eyes moved from Funke Alo's engagement ring to Nii Alo's face. She said nothing. Sit, Nii said. Funke sat beside him close enough to suggest unity. Zara began with the birth certificate. It named Amaka Okoro as mother. The space for father was blank. Why is my name not there? Nii asked. My mother said. The registrar advised her not to enter the name of a man who was absent and had not acknowledged paternity. Funke leaned back. Convenient. Tola looked at her. Please allow her to finish. Zara presented 3 postal receipts dated September 2nd, September 19, and October 7th, 2004. Each showed delivery to Adeyemi Projects Limited, the small property company Nii had operated before his current group existed. The first receipt carried a signature. F. Coca. Nii looked up. Funke did not blink. I received hundreds of letters in those days. I was your executive assistant. It proves nothing about what was inside. You told me Amaka never contacted the office, Nii said. I said I did not remember her contacting the office. That is not what you said. After 21 years, are we now prosecuting grammar? Zara slid forward the email printouts. The first was from Amaka Alo's old account, dated August 26, 2004. Nii, please answer me. I am pregnant. Before you decide anything, let me speak to you face to face. The second was a reply from Nii Alo's address. There is nothing to discuss. I am engaged. Do not contact me or my office again. Whatever child you are carrying is not my responsibility. Nii stared at the message. I did not write this. Funke folded her arms. Anybody can type an email and print it. The header is on the next page, Zara said. My mother kept the full printout because she used a cybercafe and did not own a computer. Tola took the page carefully. This can be examined. Nii Alo's breathing had changed. He remembered the office computers of that period. Shared terminals. Weak passwords. Funke had managed his calendar, correspondence, and sometimes his email when he traveled. But suspicion was not proof. He forced himself to remain still. Tell me about your mother Alo's condition, he said. Zara removed a hospital summary. She began bleeding irregularly last year. She thought it was menopause. Then she started losing weight and feeling pain in her lower back. She delayed proper assessment because the first clinic fees were more than she could manage, and because she was afraid of losing her teaching job. By the time she went for full evaluation, the doctors found cervical cancer. The MRI suggests it has spread into nearby tissue and lymph nodes. Dr. Sani says they need more tests before final staging and treatment planning. Why did she not come to me earlier? She did not want your money. She may die because she did not want my money. Zara Allo's voice sharpened. She may die because illness is expensive, because fear makes people delay, because salary can finish before the month begins, and because she believed you had rejected her child before the child was born. Do not reduce 21 years to pride, sir. The room went still. Nii did not answer at once. Zara inhaled and continued more quietly. She wrote the letter after Dr. Sani explained that treatment could make her weak for a long time. She wanted me to know where I came from. I told her I would bring it. She told me not to kneel, not to cry, and not to ask you for anything. Funke shook her head. A very sophisticated performance. Zara turned to her. Ma, you keep calling my mother a liar. Yet your signature is on the receipt for a letter you say you do not remember. Perhaps allow evidence to finish speaking before your mouth does. Funke pushed back her chair. Who trained this girl to speak to elders like this? My mother trained me not to confuse age with integrity. Tola coughed into her hand. Lola looked down at her notebook. Nii almost smiled, but the feeling died before it reached his face. He stood. We are going to the hospital. Funke rose immediately. Nii, you have the Port Consortium meeting at 12:30. Move it. That negotiation has taken 4 months. Then it can survive one afternoon. You are allowing emotion to disrupt the company. I am allowing a medical appointment to happen on time. He looked at Lola. Arrange a driver. Zara stood too. I can go alone. I said I would take you. And I said you do not owe me that yet. Nii met her eyes. Perhaps I owe your mother the courtesy of hearing her before deciding she is lying. I failed to do that once. Funke Allo's fingers tightened around the back of her chair. The rain had reduced to a grey mist by the time Nii Allo's black SUV left Victoria Island. Zara sat in the back with Lola, not beside Nii. Funke insisted on coming and took the front passenger seat as if defending territory. Traffic stalled near Falomo Bridge. Hawkers moved between cars with plantain chips, phone chargers, and bottled water balanced against their bodies. A young man knocked on the window offering umbrellas. Nii waved him away, then noticed Zara counting crumpled notes in her bag. What are you doing? He asked. Checking what remains for transport home. You will not need transport money today. I did not ask you. Must every sentence become a fight? No, sir. Only the ones that try to turn help into control. Lola looked out of the window to hide her reaction. Nii rubbed his forehead. Fine, I am offering transport. You may accept or refuse. I accept the ride because my mother Al's appointment is soon. Nothing more. Funke gave a dry laugh. Poverty with pride. Lagos has produced everything. Zara leaned forward slightly. Pride is not only for people with air-conditioned cars, Ma. The driver Allo's shoulders moved once. He was laughing silently. They reached Meridian Oncology Center at 1:19. The building was not luxurious. Its paint had faded at the corners, and the waiting area held plastic chairs rather than leather ones. But it was clean. Posters in English, Yoruba, and Pidgin explained screening, consent, and chemotherapy side effects. A social worker sat behind a desk, helping an elderly couple complete forms. Zara moved faster the moment she entered. Would see, she said. My mother was resting there before review. Amaka Okoro was sitting beside a window in a pale green dress, one hand pressed against her abdomen. She had tied a scarf around her hair, though she had not yet begun treatment. Illness had narrowed her face and sharpened her cheekbones. But her eyes were the same eyes, Nii remembered. She saw him. The paper cup in her hand fell. Water spread across the floor. Nobody moved. Nini, she whispered. He had imagined this reunion many times during the drive, but every imagined sentence abandoned him. Amaka. Her eyes moved to Funke. The weakness in her face changed into something colder. You came with her. Funke lifted her chin. I came to protect him from another manipulation. Amaka looked at Zara Allo's wrists. What happened to you? It is nothing, mummy. Zara. Security held me. The letter tore. Mr. Adeyemi stopped them. Amaka Allo's gaze settled on Niyi. I asked you not to humiliate her. I did not know she was downstairs. You did not know many things because you preferred people who filtered the world for you. The words were weakly spoken, but they entered him cleanly. Niyi pulled a chair closer. I came to listen, 21 years late. Yes, the honesty made Amaka pause. Dr. Sani Bello entered before either could continue. He was a broad-shouldered man in his early 50s, with reading glasses hanging from a cord around his neck. He looked from Amaka to the three strangers and frowned. Hope no problem? Amaka gave a tired laugh. Doctor, the problem has arrived wearing a suit. Dr. Sani looked at Niyi. Which one? For the first time that day, Zara smiled. Niyi introduced himself. He did not mention his wealth or company. Dr. Sani listened, then turned to Amaka. Do you want these people present while we discuss your scan? The question was simple. It mattered. Amaka looked at Niyi, at Funke, then at Zara. Zara stays. Mr. Adeyemi can stay. The other woman should wait outside. Funke stiffened. I am his fiancé. This is my medical information. Amaka replied. Your engagement ring does not give you access to it. Dr. Sani opened the door. Madam, please wait outside. Funke looked at Niyi, expecting rescue. He gave none. The door closed behind her. Dr. Sani placed the MRI images on the light screen. He explained what the scans suggested and what they did not yet prove. The tumor involved the cervix and surrounding tissue. Enlarged pelvic lymph nodes were concerning. A small area near the bladder required further assessment. More blood work, chest imaging, and possibly a PET scan would help determine the full extent. Can she be cured? Niyi asked. Dr. Sani did not soften the truth. I cannot promise that. Anybody promising certainty before complete staging is selling hope like gala in traffic. What I can say is that treatment may control the disease, reduce it significantly, and possibly achieve remission. We need to know her kidney function, blood count, and general strength first. What is the best treatment? Likely combined chemotherapy and radiotherapy. But the final plan depends on results and on what Amaka chooses after we explain benefits and risks. I will pay for whatever she needs. Amaka turned sharply. I did not ask, but Dr. Sani raised one hand. Mr. Adeyemi, money can remove some barriers. It cannot replace consent. This is Amaka Allo's body. She will decide after she understands the plan. Niyi nodded. Understood. Dr. Sani studied him for a moment, then continued. Treatment could cause nausea, fatigue, diarrhea, low blood counts, infection risk, and temporary or lasting changes to bladder and bowel function. Amaka might need time away from work. She would need transport, nutrition support, and somebody to monitor warning signs. Zara had already written everything down. Niyi noticed. Amaka noticed him noticing. Oh, she has been doing that since the first appointment. Amaka said. She asks the questions I forget. She is studying health science, community, health extension, Zara answered. Final year, but I deferred this semester. Because of your mother. Because timetables do not care who is vomiting at 3 in the morning. Dr. Sani closed the file. We can do the additional tests today if payment is sorted. The initial deposit is 1,843,000 naira. That covers imaging, laboratory work, and treatment planning, not the full course. Amaka looked away. Niyi took out his phone. She caught his wrist. No, Amaka. I did not bring Zara to collect money. You brought her because you may be seriously ill, and because you believed I am her father. Whether the second claim is true or not, the first is already true. I will not owe you my dignity. You will not. This is not a purchase. Men with money always say that before they begin attaching conditions. Nii lowered the phone. Then we put it in writing. Payment is for medical assessment only. It creates no claim over you, Zara, or any future decision. Tola can prepare it today. Dr. Sani nodded slowly. That is sensible. Zara looked at her mother. Mummy, let the tests happen. Amaka closed her eyes. For 21 years she had survived by refusing to need Nii Adiemi. She had taught in classrooms with leaking roofs, sold 2 gold chains to pay Zara Alo's school fees, and learned how to stretch 1 pot of stew across 4 days. Depending on him now felt like reopening a wound she had trained herself not to touch. But cancer did not respect pride. Only the assessment, she said. We discuss treatment after results. Agreed, Nii replied. He transferred the money directly to the hospital account, while Dr. Sani watched the confirmation arrive. He did not call an executive. He did not demand special treatment. He only asked that the scheduled tests begin as soon as medically appropriate. Then he turned to Amaka. We also need a paternity test. I expected that. Independent laboratory. Proper identification. No shortcuts. Funke Alo's voice came from the doorway before anybody invited her back in. I know a discreet service, she said. Osla Ibe manages executive gene care. They handle high-profile clients. No leaks, no bloggers, no embarrassment. Dr. Sani Alo's expression tightened. Paternity testing should not be arranged by somebody with a personal interest in the result. Funke smiled without warmth. Doctor, discretion is not interference. No. But chain of custody is not fashion either. If the result may affect legal rights. Everybody should understand who collected the samples, how they were sealed, and where they went. Zara looked at Nii. I agree, Nii considered it. He had no desire to see the matter online before facts existed. Yet he had already learned what happened when he allowed convenience to replace scrutiny. We will decide after speaking to legal, he said. Funke Alo's smile held. Barely. At 3:12, while Amaka was being taken for blood tests, Funke stood alone in a quiet stairwell and called Sola Ibe. He answered on the second ring. Cousin, hope no problem? There is a problem, Funke said. 21-year-old problem. Sola was silent. Then Funke told him the name. Zara Okoro. His breathing changed. You said that matter died long ago. It did. Now it has entered Harbour Crest Tower wearing wet sandals. What do you want me to do? Funke looked through the narrow stairwell window at Lagos traffic crawling below. That test must not confirm anything, she said. Do you understand me? Sola did not answer immediately. Funke Alo's voice dropped. Do you understand me? Yes. Good. Because if she becomes his daughter, we both lose more than money. The next 5 days moved with the strange speed of a life that had suddenly split into before and after. Before the letter, Nii Alo's mornings had been measured in profit forecasts. Land approvals and meetings that began precisely at 8:30. After the letter, he woke checking whether Zara had sent an update from the hospital. He still signed documents. He still spoke to investors. But every number now had another number beside it. Amaka Alo's hemoglobin level, her kidney function, the size of the tumor, the date of Zara Alo's birth. Numbers had become personal. Amaka completed her staging tests on Friday. The results confirmed locally advanced cervical cancer with pelvic lymph node involvement, but no clear evidence of spread to distant organs. Dr. Sani explained that the disease was serious, yet potentially treatable with combined chemotherapy and radiotherapy. He did not call it a miracle. He called it work. The treatment will happen over several weeks, he told Amaka on Monday morning. Radiotherapy 5 days each week, with chemotherapy given at intervals to make the radiation more effective. We will monitor your kidneys, blood counts, and hydration. Some days you may feel manageable. Some days you may feel as if a trailer passed through your body. Amaka squeezed her face. Doctor, must you describe it like that? I prefer fear that is informed to courage that is blind. Zara wrote the phrase down. Niyi sat across from them in a plain chair. Funka had wanted to attend, but Amaka refused. This time, Niyi did not argue. What happens if she cannot tolerate it? He asked. We adjust. We pause if necessary. We treat side effects. We do not continue simply because a rich man has paid and wants a dramatic result. Niyi nodded. You enjoy correcting me. Dr. Sani smiled. You are a man surrounded by people who agree too quickly. Consider my service part of the treatment package. Amaka laughed, then pressed a hand to her abdomen when the laugh became painful. The laughter died. Niyi noticed how Zara moved before anybody asked. She adjusted the cushion behind her mother, opened a bottle of water, and checked whether the pain medicine had been taken on time. Her movements were practiced, almost automatic. How long have you been doing this alone? He asked. Zara did not look at him. Long enough, Amaka answered for her. Since March. My sister stayed for 2 weeks, but she has her own family in Ibadan. Zara has been the one carrying everything. You deferred school? I already told you. I know. I am asking what you need to return. Zara capped the water bottle. My mother to be stable. Tuition, transport, time, the ordinary things. I can provide those. You can provide money. Time is not sold at Eco Hotel. Niyi sat back. Amaka looked between them. Both of you speak as if every conversation is a wrestling match. He starts, Zara said. She refuses every reasonable offer, Niyi replied. She has survived people whose offers had hooks inside them, Amaka said. Allow her to inspect yours. Niyi absorbed that without defense. Later that afternoon, he arranged a serviced 2-bedroom flat in Ikeja, 11 minutes from Meridian Oncology Center, during light traffic, and considerably longer when Lagos decided to be Lagos. It was not his penthouse. It was not filled with gold fittings or servants. It had a lift, reliable electricity, a small kitchen, and enough space for Amaka to rest without climbing 3 flights of stairs to the room they had rented in Yaba. He presented it as an option, not a command. Amaka resisted for 40 minutes. Zara resisted for 23. Dr. Sani ended the debate. My patient cannot be climbing stairs after treatment because 2 proud people are competing over who can reject help more beautifully. Move closer. Keep your receipts. Sign whatever agreement protects you. But move. So they moved. Tola Daniels prepared a 6-page document stating that the flat and medical payments were temporary support, with no condition of paternity, inheritance, publicity, romantic reconciliation, or control over treatment. Zara read every paragraph. She asked for 2 clauses to be changed. Niyi agreed. That impressed her more than the flat. For the first week, Niyi visited only when invited. He brought no photographers and posted nothing online. He sent food through a catering service, but Zara cancelled it after the 3rd delivery because the meals were too spicy for Amaka Alo's stomach and too wasteful for 2 people. Then tell them what to cook, Niyi said over the phone. We can cook. You are spending 6 hours daily at the hospital. I said we can cook. Zat. Sir. Why do you answer Sir Alo as if it is an insult? Because sometimes you say my name as if it is an instruction. There was a pause. Then Niyi laughed. It surprised both of them. The following evening, he came with boiled yam, mild fish stew, and pawpaw packed by an older cook who had worked for his mother. Amaka ate more than she had eaten all week. Zara did not thank him immediately. After washing the plates, she came to the sitting room where he was reading one of Amaka Alo's old school reports. "Thank you," she said, "for the food? For listening when I said the first food was wrong." He closed the report. "That should not be extraordinary. It is when people have money. Many of them think paying gives them the right to stop hearing." Nii looked at her. "You have strong opinions about rich people." "I have strong opinions about anybody who thinks another person Alo's need is permission to disrespect them." He nodded slowly. "Fair." Zara noticed the report in his hand. It was from the school where Amaka had taught before illness forced her to take leave. "You are reading Mummy Alo's appraisal?" She taught 47 pupils in one class and still had the highest literacy improvement in the district. "She is good." She always was. The way he said it made Zara study him. "What happened between both of you?" Nii did not answer quickly. The easy version would have blamed Funke. The honest version required him to include himself. "I believed your mother was seeing another man," he said. "I was shown photographs of her leaving a restaurant with somebody. They were holding hands. One picture looked like they were kissing." "Were they?" "I never allowed her to explain." "That is not an answer." "No, I do not know." "You ended the relationship without meeting her," I called. She tried to speak. I shouted. Then I blocked her. Zara Alo's expression changed, not anger, disappointment. Nii found that harder to carry. "You are not the innocent victim you are telling yourself you are," she said. "I know, do you?" He looked down at the report. "I am beginning to." The paternity test was scheduled for Wednesday, July 15. Tola had recommended 2 accredited laboratories and a formal collection process, with identity verification, photographs, witnessed sealing, and documented transfer. Funke argued that such a process would create too many records and increase the risk of a leak. Executive gene care handles ministers, actors, and high-net-worth families, she said during a private meeting in Nialo's office. "They can collect at home. Results in 48 hours. Quietly." Lola sat at the end of the table. "Are they on our approved medical vendor list?" "This is personal, not company business." "Then why are you selecting the vendor?" Funke turned. "Because I know discretion. And you know the manager personally," Lola said. "Sola Ibe is related to your mother." Funke Alo's face remained calm, distantly. "That is a conflict." "No, it is familiarity." Nii rubbed his temple. He had already received 2 anonymous emails asking whether he had a secret daughter. Somebody at the hospital or company was talking. He wanted the question settled before gossip hardened into public fact. "Tola will attend the collection," he said. "Zara receives copies of every document. The samples are sealed in front of us." Lola opened her mouth. Nii raised one hand. "Ah, this is the decision." It was his first serious mistake after the letter. Not because executive gene care was automatically unreliable, but because he allowed secrecy to outweigh independence. On Wednesday morning, Solo arrived at the Akkeja flat, wearing a white coat embroidered with the company logo. He was 34, smooth-faced and overly cheerful. A young technician carried the case, though Solo introduced neither her name nor qualifications. Zara noticed. "Who will collect the samples?" she asked. "My staff," Sola said. "Do not worry, my sister. It is only a cheek swab." "I did not ask whether it would hurt. I asked who is collecting it." The technician gave her name and showed an identity card after Tola requested it. Sola smiled. "Very careful girl. Yes, you should relax. DNA does not change because you are squeezing your face. Procedure can change what arrives at the laboratory." Tola glanced at her approvingly. Nii came at 9:03. Funke came with him despite Amaka Alo's refusal to have her inside the flat. during collection. "I will wait in the corridor," she said, but not leaving him alone in a situation designed to trap him. Amaka stood in the doorway, thinner than she had been the previous week. "Madam Funke, if you believe my daughter is a trap, why are you fighting so hard to stand beside it?" Funke smiled. "Because rats enter houses through small holes." Zara moved towards her. Amaka caught her hand. "No, do not answer dirt with your bare skin." Funke Arlo's smile faltered. The door closed. The technician swabbed Nii first, then Zara. Tola checked their identification. 2 tubes were placed on the table. The technician wrote labels by hand. Nii was called outside by his driver when an urgent office package arrived. He left for less than 2 minutes. During those 2 minutes, Sola asked Tola to sign a payment receipt at the kitchen counter. The technician turned away to retrieve another form from the case. Zara watched the tubes. The label on hers ended in 7413. The label on Nii Alo's ended in 7414. She repeated the numbers silently. Sola sealed both tubes in a transparent evidence pouch. He did not ask Zara or Nii to sign across the seal. He did not provide a photograph of the package. When Tola requested a duplicate custody form, he said it would be emailed. "Before you leave," Zara said, "write the sample numbers on my copy." Sola Alo's eyes rested on her for a second too long. Then he wrote them, 7413, 7414. "Happy?" he asked. "No." Documented. After the collection, Sola drove to his office in Maryland. At 11:26, he carried the sealed pouch into a storage room behind the processing desk. The camera above the door should have recorded him. It did not. At 11:19, a maintenance request had been logged from his administrator, Alo's account, reporting a faulty network switch. The camera feed went dark for 17 minutes. Inside the room, Sola opened the pouch. His hands shook. He replaced Nii Alo's tube with a prepared sample from an unrelated male donor, copied the label, and resealed the package with another security strip from the same batch. The act took less than 4 minutes. It would cost him years. At 11:41, Funke transferred 873,500 naira to a consulting company registered in Sola Alo's friend Alo's name. The narration on the transfer read, "Strategic Data Review." By Friday afternoon, the result was ready. Sola insisted on sending it directly to Nii. At 3:37, Nii opened the encrypted PDF in his office. Funke sat opposite him. Lola stood near the window with a folder. Tola joined by video call. The conclusion was 3 lines long. The tested man was excluded as the biological father of the tested woman. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Nii read it once, then again. His face emptied. Funke exhaled slowly and placed one hand over her mouth. The performance was careful, not triumphant, not yet. "Oh, Nii," she whispered. "I am so sorry." Lola stepped closer. "May I see the full report?" He handed it to her. The room seemed to tilt around him. For 9 days he had allowed a possibility to enter his life. He had imagined Zara as a child. He had wondered whether she learned to walk early, whether she feared thunderstorms, whether she had ever looked at other fathers and asked Amaka where hers was. Now a page said, none of it belonged to him. Shame followed grief. He had cancelled meetings, paid bills, moved them into a flat, allowed senior staff to see him uncertain. Somewhere outside his office, whispers were already moving. Funke leaned forward. "This is what I was trying to protect you from." Lola frowned at the report. "The sample identifiers here are EG7413 and EG7491. Nii barely heard her. "What?" "The second identifier." Funke reached for the paper. "It may be an internal processing code." Lola did not release it, possibly. "I would like the custody record." "Nii does not need more bureaucracy," Funke said. He needs to accept that he has been used. The office phone rang before Lola could answer. Nii Alo's media director was on the line. A gossip blog had published a story. Lagos Billionaire tricked by fake daughter while dying teacher demons millions. The article included a blurred photograph of Zara entering the tower, details of Amaka Alo's diagnosis, and a claim that the DNA test had already disproved paternity. The result had existed for less than 30 minutes. How did they get this? Nii asked. Funky stood. This is exactly what they planned. Pressure you publicly before you could think. Lola looked at her. The article says the test is negative. Who outside this room knew? Funka Alo's head turned. Are you accusing me? I am asking a compliance question. You are forgetting your level, Lola. No, Ma. I am remembering my job. Nii slammed his palm on the desk. Enough. Both women stopped. He called Zara. She answered on the fourth ring, breathless. Sir, I am at the treatment unit. Hope no problem. The phrase nearly broke him. Where is your mother? Receiving fluids before her first radiotherapy session. I am coming. What happened? And the result came. Silence. And Nii ended the call. Lola picked up the report. Sir, before you confront anybody, please allow me to obtain the complete custody documentation. The identifier inconsistency may have an explanation, but it should be checked. The result is clear. The conclusion is clear. The process is not. Funka walked to Nii Alo's side. Do not let technical language confuse what is obvious. They lied. Nii took the report from Lola. He left. At Meridian Oncology Center, Zara was standing outside the infusion room when he arrived. She had seen the blog post. So had 2 nurses, 3 patients, and the woman selling snacks near the entrance. People were pretending not to look at her. Nii held out the report. You are not my daughter. Zara read his face before she read the page. My mother did not lie. The test excluded me. Then something is wrong. The laboratory is wrong. The emails are real. The letters were hidden. The blog is lying. Everything that disagrees with your mother must be wrong. Her eyes hardened. Everything should be checked before you use it to destroy people. I checked. You accepted one test organized by your fiancé, Alo's relative. My legal advisor was present. Your legal advisor watched the swab. She did not travel inside the evidence pouch. Nii laughed once without humor. You prepared this answer quickly. I wrote down the sample numbers. Show me the report. He handed it over. Zara scanned the page. Her finger stopped. This is not the number on your tube. What? Your sample ended in 7419. This says 7491. Internal codes can change. Then where is the cross-reference? He stared at her. She lifted her chin. Ask them. Amaka Alo's voice came from behind the curtain. Zara. She had heard the raised voices. Zara closed her eyes for a moment, then went inside. Nii followed. Amaka sat in a reclining chair with an IV line in her arm. Her face was grey with fatigue. The result is negative, Zara said gently. Amaka looked at Nii. No, he held the paper out. She did not take it. No, Zara is yours. Science says otherwise. Science did not collect that sample. People did. The sentence irritated him because it sounded too much like hope wearing intelligence. You knew I would pay for treatment. Amaka Alo's expression changed. So, that is where your mind has gone. You contacted me only when you were ill. I contacted you when I was pregnant. You have printouts. I have truth. Truth would match the test. A nurse stepped closer. Sir, please lower your voice. Patients are receiving treatment. Nii ignored her. Amaka Alo's heart monitor began to climb. Zara moved between them. Stop, she said. Nii looked at her. You may reject me, Zara continued. But do not use one laboratory paper to decide whether my mother deserves treatment. Her life did not become valuable because you thought I was your daughter, and it should not become worthless because a test embarrassed you." The words entered the room and stayed there. Dr. Sani appeared at the doorway. "What is happening?" Nii turned. "The paternity test is negative, and that requires shouting beside a woman receiving her first treatment. I am being told the result is fraudulent. Then investigate it. I already did the test." "You did a test. Investigation is what happens when process and result disagree with material evidence." Funke arrived before Nii could reply. She had followed in another car. "Doctor, please do not encourage this manipulation," she said. "The test has settled the matter." Dr. Sani looked at her. "Madam, you are not my patient, not her lawyer, and not the laboratory scientist. Why are you always at the center of this matter?" Funke Alo's face tightened. Amaka removed the IV hand from beneath the blanket and pointed weakly towards the door. "Both of you should leave." Nii Alo's anger rose again. "Fine. I will continue paying for the treatment already approved. I am not withdrawing that. But the flat was arranged because I believed Zara was my daughter. You will have 14 days to make another arrangement." Zara stared at him. Amaka shut her eyes. Funke exhaled through her nose. Dr. Sani looked disgusted. "You could have sent that information through your lawyer tomorrow." "I prefer clarity." "No, sir. You prefer punishment while calling it clarity." Nii flinched. He left before anybody saw it. That evening, Zara packed every item Nii had sent to the flat. She separated food already opened from sealed goods. The unopened items went to the hospital social work office for patients in need. The new phone remained in its box. The keys lay on the table beside the 6-page agreement. Amaka watched from the sofa, a basin near her feet, because nausea had started. "We have 14 days, she said weakly. "We will not stay one more night. Zara, your anger is carrying you on its head. No, Mummy. My dignity is walking on its own legs. Where will we go?" "Back to Yaba for now. I will ask the landlord to let us use the downstairs room." "You cannot lift me up those stairs. I will find another place." "With what money?" Zara stopped folding a blouse. For the first time since the result arrived, her face cracked. "I do not know." Amaka opened her arms. Zara knelt beside her and pressed her face into her lap, careful of the treatment line still taped to her hand. Neither cried loudly. The room held only Amaka Alo's fingers moving through her daughter Alo's hair and the distant hum of the generator below. At 9:18, Zara sent Nii one message. "The key is with reception. The flat is empty." The sample number written in front of me was EG7414. "Your report carries EG7491. I have filed a written request for the full chain of custody record. I will not contact you again unless the evidence requires it." Then she switched off the phone he had bought and returned to her old device with a cracked screen. Nii read the message in his study. Funke stood behind him with 2 glasses of wine. "She is clever," she said. "Even her exit is designed to make you doubt." Nii kept staring at the numbers. 7491. "A laboratory can assign a processing number," Funke said. "Do not let a poor girl's confidence make you think she understands science better than professionals." Nii turned. Why did the blog know the result? Funke Alo's hand paused halfway to the table. "Probably somebody at the lab. Your relative Alo's lab. Distant relative. You recommended him to protect you." Nii looked at the wine, then at her face. For 21 years, Funke Alo's certainty had felt like shelter. That night, for the first time, it felt like a locked door. By Saturday morning, the internet had decided who Zara was. People who had never met her called her a fraud, a gold digger, and a professional daughter. One commentator enlarged the blurred lobby photograph and mocked the stitches on her dress. Another said poor families had become too bold because social media rewarded shamelessness. A third person asked why a dying woman would wait 21 years to reveal a father unless money was involved. That question was shared 14,000 times. Zara did not reply to any of them. At 8:15, she submitted a formal complaint to Executive Gene Care. The letter did not accuse Sola of switching samples. It listed observable failures: incomplete identity documentation, failure to provide signed seal photographs, conflicting sample identifiers, absence of a complete custody form, and a potential conflict because the service provider had been selected by a person with a direct interest in the outcome. She copied Tola, Niyi, and the Consumer Protection Office named in the laboratory Aloe's terms. Facts first. By 10:03, Sola replied. He said the identifier difference reflected routine internal accessioning. He attached a one-page custody summary showing EG7414 converted to EG7491 during processing. The conversion line carried the initials SI. Zara read it twice. Then she checked the time. According to the form, the conversion happened at 10:52 on collection day. At 10:52, the sample pouch had still been on the table in the Ikeja flat. Tola Aloe's time-stamped photograph showed Sola holding it there at 10:56. Zara forwarded both documents to Tola. The reply came 3 minutes later. Do not contact the laboratory by phone. Preserve every email. I am opening a legal evidence folder. Meanwhile, Lola George was asking different questions. She began with the gossip leak. The media director showed her the anonymous email that had led the blog to publish. Its attached PDF contained metadata naming the creator as Fukuoka Laptop 2. Metadata could be altered, but it could also be stupidly honest. Lola requested the company Aloe's endpoint logs. Funke Aloe's second laptop had exported a PDF at 3:31 on Friday 6 minutes before Niyi opened the official result. The file name was Zara Findanullering, PDF. There was no legitimate reason for Funke to possess a final result before Niyi. Lola printed the log and placed it in a locked evidence cabinet. Next, she examined the vendor relationship. Executive Gene Care was not on the group Aloe's approved list. Funke had used her executive authority to classify the test as confidential reputation management, then directed payment through her own office. The invoice was for 295,000 naira. The additional transfer of 873,500 naira did not appear in company accounts because it came from Funke Aloe's personal bank. Lola did not know about that transfer yet, but banks remembered what people hoped to forget. At the Yabas house, Amaka Aloe's first 48 hours after treatment were brutal. She vomited until only bitter fluid came up. Her legs became weak. She could not tolerate the smell of stew, soap, or even the menthol balm she had used for years. Zara slept on a mat beside the downstairs room the landlord had allowed them to use temporarily. Every 2 hours, she checked Amaka Aloe's temperature. She recorded fluid intake on paper because the cracked phone battery could not be trusted. At 2:40 on Sunday morning, Amaka Aloe's temperature reached 38.4 degrees. Zara called Meridian. The nurse told her to bring Amaka immediately because fever during cancer treatment could signal infection, especially when blood counts were low. Zara did not wait for daylight. She woke the landlord, borrowed his car, and sat in the back, holding her mother upright while he drove through empty streets. Amaka was admitted for observation and IV antibiotics. The treatment had not started killing the cancer so strongly that the body was celebrating. That was the romantic nonsense strangers posted online. Her body was under stress, and stress required medical attention. Dr. Sani explained it to Zara at 4:17. You did the correct thing by calling, he said. Do not wait with fever because somebody tells you to be strong. Strength is not staying at home until danger becomes drama. Zara nodded, exhausted. Will the treatment stop? We may delay the next chemotherapy dose depending on her blood count. Delay is not failure. Adjustment is part of treatment. Will the cancer grow because of a delay? One short delay does not automatically erase benefit. We balance treatment against what her body can safely carry. Zara wrote that down too. At 6:05, while Amaka slept, an elderly woman in the next bay began crying over a consent form. Her son had left to find money for food. She could read simple English, but not the medical language describing possible side effects. Zara moved her chair closer. Ma, has the doctor explained it to you? The woman shook her head. They talked, but my head was turning. I do not want to sign what I do not understand. You should not. Zara called the nurse and asked for the doctor to explain again in simpler language. While they waited, she helped the woman list questions. What is the purpose? What are the common risks? What happens if I refuse? Are there alternatives? Can I take time to decide? She did not tell the woman what to choose. She helped her ask. Nii saw this from the corridor. He had come because Dr. Sani called to say Amaka had been admitted. He stood there for almost a minute without entering. Zara Alo's hair was tied carelessly. Her eyes were swollen from lack of sleep. She wore the same faded blue dress from the lobby because there had been no time to change. Still, she was helping somebody else, not performing for him. She did not know he was there. Nii felt something inside him become unbearable. He had spent 2 decades building systems for buildings, hospitals, and housing estates. He demanded redundancies in power supply, independent checks in procurement, and audit trails for every major contract. Yet when the matter became personal, he had accepted one conclusion from a process selected by Folktale and used it as a weapon. He entered quietly. Zara saw him and went still. The elderly woman looked between them. My daughter, is this your husband? No, Ma. Nii almost choked. The woman nodded. Good. His face is too serious. Despite herself, Zara Alo's mouth moved. Dr. Sani came down the corridor. Mr. Adeyemi, hope no problem? I heard Amaka was admitted. She is stable. Zara acted quickly. Can I see her? That is for Amaka to decide when she wakes. Nii accepted the correction. Then he turned to Zara. I came to apologize. She looked at the sleeping patients around them. This is not the place. Then tell me where. There is a courtyard downstairs. They went down at 7:10. Rainwater still clung to the leaves around the concrete benches. A security man slept behind the gate with a radio against his chest. Nii remained standing. I was wrong to confront your mother during treatment, he said. I was wrong to withdraw the flat in anger. I was wrong to speak as if the result proved motive as well as biology. Zara sat with both hands around a paper cup of tea. Continue. I allowed humiliation to decide my behavior. Continue, he breathed out. I punished you because I felt foolish. Yes, I am sorry. She watched him for a long moment. An apology cannot order my heart to become soft, sir. Let the truth arrive first. Then let your conduct show whether the apology has legs. I understand, do you? I am trying to. She looked down at her tea. The flat was not the worst part. What was? You saw my mother attached to an IV and decided that was the correct moment to prove you could still control something. Nii had no defense. You were correct to ask for a test, Zara continued. You were correct not to accept a letter as proof. But suspicion does not require cruelty. Procedure does not require contempt. I know. Now you know, he nodded. What do you need today, he asked. For you not to ask that as if a check can repair the morning. Then what can I do? Pay the treatment invoice you already promised. Do not make new promises while angry or guilty. Ask your compliance officer why the blog had the result before we did. Ask the laboratory for the raw data and full custody record, and leave my mother Alo's medical decisions to my mother. Niyi sat beside her. You should have been a lawyer. I prefer work that helps people before court becomes necessary. They sat in silence. At 8:02, Amaka woke and agreed to see him for 5 minutes. Niyi entered alone. She looked smaller beneath the hospital blanket. A cannula ran into her wrist. Her scarf had slipped, revealing strands of hair damp with sweat. I am sorry, he said. For which year? All of them, beginning with this week. Amaka turned towards the window. The result is wrong. I have asked Lola to investigate the process. You should have investigated before you broke Zara Alo's heart. Yes, that answer made her look back. Funke arranged the photographs 21 years ago, Amaka said. I could never prove it. The man was a colleague from teacher training college. He had just lost his father. Outside the restaurant, he hugged me. One photograph caught his cheek near mine. Another caught him holding my hand while I consoled him. His name? Dare Balogun. He moved to Canada years ago. We were never lovers. Niyi closed his eyes briefly. Amaka continued. After you blocked me, I came to your office on September 2. Funke met me downstairs. She said you had instructed her to keep me away. I gave her a letter. The receipt carries her signature. I came again on September 19. She showed me your engagement announcement. I was not engaged. I know that now. She told you I was. She showed me a card with your name and hers. She said the ceremony was private. Niyi felt cold. Amaka reached into the drawer beside the bed and removed a plastic envelope. Inside was a yellowed printout. This is the email I received from your account. He had already seen a copy. The original carried more. At the bottom, the cybercafe printer had included full header data and a timestamp. August 26, 2004, 9:14 p.m. Niyi remembered that date. He had been on a flight to Abuja from 8:35 until 9:47. Internet access on domestic flights did not exist then. The message had been sent while his phone was off, and his office computer was accessible to Funke. Why did you keep this? He asked. Because when somebody rewrites your life, paper can remind you that you are not mad. Niyi held the brittle page carefully. I need to take a forensic copy. You may photograph it. The original stays with me. Fair. He photographed each page while Amaka watched. Before he left, she spoke again. If the second test also says you are not Zara Alo's father, what will you do? Niyi looked towards the door, where Zara Alo's shadow moved past the glass. I will accept the biology. And her? He thought before answering. I will not pretend the last 2 weeks did not happen. I will not abandon your treatment. I will apologize without asking her to continue calling me anything. Amaka studied him. That is better than the man who entered here on Friday. Not difficult. By Monday, Lola Alo's investigation had become formal. She preserved the laptop export logs, copied the gossip email metadata, and asked the IT department to create an image of Funke Alo's device without alerting her. Tola obtained a court-backed preservation notice preventing executive gene care from deleting footage, custody records, access logs, or payment documents. Sola called Funke at 6:33 that evening. They are asking for the storage room footage, he said. You told me the camera failed. It did. For how long? 17 minutes. Then what is the problem? The network log shows the camera was disabled from my administrator account. Funke closed her office door. Say maintenance used your account. There was no maintenance person in the building. Create one. Funk, this is not an invoice you can edit. They sent a preservation notice. Her voice became soft. Do you remember the 23 million naira tax issue I solved for you last year? Sola went quiet. Do you remember who kept your wife from discovering the apartment in Lekki? That has nothing to do with... It has everything to do with whether you become brave now. Fix the records. If I alter anything after notice, it becomes worse. It is already worse. Choose who you want standing beside you. She ended the call. Sola stared at his phone. For the first time, he understood that Funke never stood beside anybody. She stood behind them until pushing became useful. On Tuesday, Niyi requested a second paternity test through a laboratory selected jointly by Tola and a medical geneticist who had no relationship with any party. To reduce the risk of another disputed result, 2 sets of samples would be collected at Meridian Oncology Center. Identity documents would be checked. Photographs would be taken. Zara and Niyi would sign across tamper-evident seals. 1 set would go by tracked courier to a Lagos facility. The duplicate would go to an independent laboratory in South Africa. Amaka asked why 2 laboratories were necessary. Tola answered plainly, not because 1 good laboratory is normally insufficient. Because the first process has been compromised and everybody needs a result that can survive scrutiny. The collection took place at 2:25 on July 21. Dr. Sani witnessed it. Lola witnessed it. Zara photographed every seal. Niyi wrote the numbers in his own notebook. No Funke, no Sola. After signing, Niyi looked at Zara. Whatever this says, I will not behave as I did before. She placed her copy in a folder. The paper will test biology. Your behavior is a separate examination. He almost smiled. You do not make anything easy. Easy things created this problem. They left the room together, but not as father and daughter. Not yet. Funke learned about the second test through a calendar entry on Ni Alo's assistant, Alo's shared system. By then, she had lost access to the compliance investigation, but she still controlled company finance and several board relationships. She decided that if she could not stop the result, she would make Niyi Alo's leadership collapse before it arrived. On Wednesday morning, every board member received an anonymous package containing selected bank records, photographs of Niyi at Meridian, and a forged internal email suggesting he had authorized 48 million naira of company funds for Amaka Alo's private treatment and Zara Alo's housing. The real payments had come from his personal account. The forged approval made them appear corporate. By noon, the board chair demanded an emergency meeting for Friday, July 24. The same day, the company planned to launch its Community Cancer Access Fund before journalists and hospital partners. Funke entered Niyi Alo's office carrying the summons. Her face was composed. Her eyes were not. This is what your new family has brought you, she said. Scandal, forged claims, board rebellion. You should have thrown that girl out on the first day. Niyi read the summons. Then he looked at her. Did you leak the first result? Funke laughed. We are facing removal from our own company, and you are asking childish questions. Did you send the PDF to the blog before I opened it? Niyi, focus. I am focused. She stepped closer. I protected you when you had nothing. I sat in offices without electricity. I negotiated with men who would not look at me because I was a woman. I built this company beside you. Now 1 sick teacher and her rude daughter appear, and suddenly I am the enemy? You did not answer. Her lips tightened. I sent nothing. Niyi held her gaze. For the first time, he knew she was lying while she was still speaking. At 4:42 that afternoon, Lola entered his office with 2 sealed folders. One is the preliminary result from the Lagos laboratory, she said. The second is a certified copy of Ademi Project's Alo incoming mail register from 2004. Niyi stood. Lola placed the mail register on the desk first. 3 entries carried Amaka Okoro Alo's name. All 3 were signed by Funka Koka. Beside the 3rd entry, in Funka Alo's own handwriting, were 6 words: return if she comes again. Personal directive. Nii Alo's skin went cold. I never gave that directive. I know, Lola said. The signature authorizing it does not match yours. The ink impression suggests Funka wrote the note and added your initials. Nii looked at the sealed laboratory envelope. Open it, he said. Lola did. She read silently, then she lifted her eyes. The result states a probability of paternity greater than 99%. The office made no sound. Nii gripped the edge of his desk. Zara was his daughter. The joy came first, sharp and almost painful. Then memory struck behind it. Zara returning the keys. Zara standing beside her mother, Alo Zafor. Zara asking whether his apology had legs. He had found his daughter. He had also already taught her how quickly he could discard her. Lola closed the folder. The South African result is expected tomorrow morning. Tola recommends we wait before making any public statement. Nii nodded. Does Zara know? Not yet. I will tell her. Sir, the board meeting begins at 10 tomorrow. Funke intends to accuse you publicly. Then let her. Lola studied his face. What are you planning? For once, not revenge. He looked at the mail register again. Evidence. Nii did not call Zara that evening. He drove to Meridian instead. Amaka had been discharged after her fever settled, but she remained weak and was receiving hydration in the day unit. Zara sat beside her, reading a booklet about managing treatment side effects. When Nii entered, she looked at his face and closed the booklet slowly. What happened? He placed the sealed laboratory report on the table. The first independent result came. Amaka Alo's hand tightened around the blanket. Zara did not reach for the envelope, and Nii Alo's voice failed once before he found it. Greater than 99. 99% probability that I am your biological father. Amaka shut her eyes. One tear moved down the side of her face. Zara remained still. Nii had expected relief, perhaps anger, perhaps even an embrace he knew he had not earned. What he saw instead was a young woman protecting herself from hope. The second laboratory, she asked. Tomorrow morning, then we wait. Nii nodded. Yes. Amaka opened her eyes. I did not need 2 laboratories to know who fathered my child. No, Nii said. But Zara needed a process nobody could poison. That answer reached her. Zara picked up the report at last. She read the names, the seal references, the loci table, and the conclusion. Her fingers trembled only when she reached the final paragraph. You are my father, she whispered. Yes. The word filled the space between them. Zara looked at him. Do not ask me to call you daddy today. I will not. Do not announce me to newspapers. I will not. Do not use this result to make decisions for my mother. I will not. She searched his face as if checking for hidden conditions. Then she asked, What will you do? Nii sat down opposite her. Tomorrow, I will present the evidence to the board. Funka forged internal records to make it appear. I used company money for your mother Alla's treatment. The meeting will include journalists because of the fund launch. I would prefer to handle the paternity matter privately, but Funke has already made it public and used you as an accusation. Zara Alo's expression hardened. So you want me on a stage? No. I want your permission before your name, medical information, or test result is shown. You may refuse. We can redact everything and deal with the company issue without your presence. She looked at Amaka. Amaka spoke carefully. What do you want, Zara? I want that woman to stop using our silence as evidence that she is right. That is not the same as wanting the whole of Lagos inside our family. I know. Dr. Sani entered with a nurse, saw the open report and understood from their faces. Good news? He asked. The first independent test confirms paternity, Niyi said. Dr. Sani nodded once. Then congratulations to the biology. The relationships still need work. Zara gave a small, tired laugh. Niyi explained the board meeting. Dr. Sani listened, then turned to Amaka. You are not attending anything tomorrow, he said. Amaka frowned. You became dizzy walking 12 meters this afternoon. Your blood pressure is low. If you attend, you sit, hydrate, and leave the moment I say. Better still, join by video. Funke had once controlled the story because everybody else made decisions around Amaka. Niyi refused to repeat that pattern. Amaka chooses, he said. She looked at him with surprise. I will attend, she decided. Not for the whole event, only the evidence session. I want to hear what she says when paper can answer her. Zara nodded. Then I attend too. Niyi turned to her. The Tola will explain exactly what can be disclosed. You can withdraw consent at any point before the presentation. Good. At 7:20 the next morning, the South African laboratory sent its certified report. It matched the first, greater than 99% probability. At 8:05, Sola Ibe arrived at Tola Daniels Alo's office with his own lawyer. He had not slept. His shirt collar was damp, and the confidence he wore during the first test had disappeared. A preservation notice, a bank inquiry, and the threat of professional suspension had done what guilt alone had failed to do. His lawyer placed a signed statement on the table. Sosala admitted that Funke had instructed him to substitute Niyi Alo's sample. He described the camera shutdown, the duplicate security strip, and the false conversion record. He provided the account details of the consulting company that received Funke Alo's transfer. He did not confess because his conscience suddenly became pure. He confessed because evidence had closed the doors. Tola asked one question. Why did you agree? Sola looked down. Money. And because she had information she could use against me. Did she threaten you? She reminded me of things she had hidden for me. So you helped her erase another person, Alo's father. His face tightened. Yes. Your cooperation may be considered by investigators. It does not cancel what you did. I know. At 9:32, Harbour Crest Tower filled with guests for the Community Cancer Access Fund launch. Banners stood behind the registration desk. Doctors, charity representatives, journalists, and investors moved through the same marble lobby where Funke had ordered Zara thrown out 15 days earlier. Zara entered through the main doors. This time, nobody touched her. She wore a simple rust-colored dress borrowed from her coursemate and flat black shoes. Amaka walked beside her with a cane, moving slowly. Dr. Sani had insisted on a wheelchair, but she agreed only to let one follow behind. Bode, the security officer who had gripped Zara Alo's arm, was at the checkpoint. He lowered his eyes. Miss Okoro, he said, I am sorry for what happened that day. Zara stopped. Funke had given the instruction, but his hands had carried it out. Why did you obey her? Zara asked. Bode swallowed. I was afraid of losing my job. Were you afraid I would lose my dignity? He looked at the floor. No. That is the part you should think about. I have thought about it every day. Zara nodded. Then next time, ask what a person has done before you drag them like a thief. Yes, Ma. She walked on. Forgiveness did not require pretending nothing happened. The emergency board session began at 10 in the 23rd floor conference hall. The first 3 rows held directors and legal advisors. Behind them sat fund partners and invited press. The public launch was scheduled for 11, but Funke had demanded that the governance allegations be addressed first. She arrived in a dark red suit. Her makeup was flawless. She had spent the previous night preparing to destroy Niyi Alo's credibility before he could destroy hers. The board chair, Chief Kola Adebayo, opened the meeting. He was 61, impatient and known for disliking surprises, unless he had arranged them. "We are here to address allegations of misuse of corporate funds, undisclosed conflicts, and reputational damage." He said. "Because documents have already leaked, and the charity launch involves public partners, Council has advised a transparent evidentiary session." Funke requested the floor. She stood with a folder in her hand and sorrow arranged across her face. "For 21 years, I have protected this company and the man who founded it," she began. "2 weeks ago, a young woman entered our building with an emotional claim and a carefully prepared medical story. Mr. Adeyemi abandoned proper judgment. He diverted resources, disrupted negotiations, and allowed personal guilt to influence corporate decisions." Zara sat beside Amaka in the second row. Funke looked directly at her. This woman presented herself as his daughter. A scientific test proved she was not. Yet instead of accepting truth, she attacked the laboratory, manipulated public sympathy, and continued demanding access to a family and fortune that did not belong to her. A murmur moved through the hall. Zara Allo's hands stayed folded. Funke continued. "Poor people are no longer content to knock at the gate. Now they arrive with hospital folders and expect wealth to kneel. Must every executive become father to any adult girl who studies his old photographs?" Chief Kola frowned. "Madam Coker, address the financial allegation. Avoid personal abuse." Funke lifted the forged payment approval. "This document shows 48 million naira, authorized from the company, Allo's social impact account, for private treatment, housing, and legal services." Mr. Adeyemi concealed the beneficiary relationship from the board. She placed copies before the directors. Niyi did not interrupt. That unsettled her. When Funke finished, Chief Kola turned to him. "Mr. Adeyemi?" Niyi stood. "The payments for Amaka Okoro Allo's assessment, treatment, and temporary housing came from my personal account," I said. "The document presented by Madam Coker is forged. Our bank records and audit logs are available." Funke laughed softly. "Of course you will say that." Niyi looked at Chief Kola. "With permission, I would like our head of compliance to present the evidence in sequence. Proceed." Lola walked to the front. She did not look triumphant. She looked prepared. The first screen displayed the real bank transfers from Niyi Alo's personal account. Dates, amounts, and recipients matched hospital invoices. The corporate social impact account showed no corresponding withdrawals. The second screen displayed the metadata of the forged approval. It had been created on Funkelo's laptop at 2:11 on Tuesday morning. Funke rose. "Metadata can be manufactured." Tola spoke from Council O's table. "Correct. That is why the device image, server log, and cryptographic hash have been preserved for independent examination." Funke sat. Lola showed the gossip leak next. The negative paternity PDF had been exported from Funkelo's second laptop at 3:31 on July 17, 6 minutes before Niyi received the official report. The anonymous email to the blog had been sent through a temporary account created from the same device. The room changed. Journalists stopped typing for 1 second, then typed faster. Funke Allo's face remained still, but one hand closed around her pen. "This proves only that I received information early and tried to manage a crisis," she said. "How did you receive it?" Chief Kola asked. "From the laboratory." "Why?" "I was protecting the company." Lola moved to the next slide. This is the first laboratory report. The sample number witnessed at collection for Mr. Adeyemi was EG7414. The report tested EG7491. Executive Gene Care supplied a conversion record stating the identifier changed at 10:52 on collection day. Tola displayed a photograph of Sola holding the unopened pouch in the Ikiga, flat at 10:56. 4 minutes after the supposed accessioning, the hall went silent. Funky stood again. Administrative errors happen. Yes, Lola said. That is why we did not stop there. The screen showed the storage room access log. Sola entered at 11:26. The camera had been disabled from his account for 17 minutes. The screen then showed the transfer of 873,500 naira from Folktale's personal account to a company linked to Folktale's associate. Folktale's pen snapped. A small piece of plastic fell onto the table. Nobody spoke. Tola rose. Mr. Ibe has given a statement in the presence of counsel. He admits substituting Mr. Adeyemi Alo's sample at Madam Coca Alo's instruction. His statement, the physical seal batch, bank transfer and access records have been forwarded to the appropriate investigators and professional regulators. Funke Alo's face drained. No, she said. Sola is lying to save himself. Then let us move to the independent results, Lola replied. The screen displayed both certified reports, one from Lagos and one from South Africa, different laboratories. Separate sealed samples. Matching conclusion. Niyi Adeyemi was Zara Okoro Alo's biological father, with a probability greater than 99%. The silence broke into gasps. Every camera turned towards Zara. She did not smile. She looked at Funke. Funke looked back as if hatred alone could erase the screen. Niyi stepped towards the microphone. Zara consented to disclosure of the conclusion for this hearing. Because Madam Coca made the allegation public, no raw genetic data will be released to the media. That sentence mattered, he had learned. Funke Alo's voice rose. A paternity result does not prove anything about 21 years ago. Lola changed the screen. The 2004 incoming mail register appeared. 3 letters from Amaka Okoro, 3 signatures from Funke Coca. Then the handwritten instruction. Return if she comes again. Personal directive. Niyi addressed the board. I gave no such directive. Funke laughed too loudly. After 2 decades, anybody can produce an old book, Tola answered. The register came from off-site corporate archives. Its custody history predates the current dispute. Ink and handwriting comparison are ongoing. The next document was Amaka Alo's original cybercafe email printout. The message rejecting her pregnancy had been sent from Niyi Alo's account at 9:14 p.m. on August 26, 2004. Travel records showed Niyi was airborne between Lagos and Abuja at that time. IT archives from the old company showed Funke Alo's administrator profile logged into his office terminal. The final screen displayed scanned photographs of Amaka and Dare Balagun outside the restaurant. The full contact sheet, obtained from the retired photographer, Alo's archive, showed what the cropped images had removed. Other college friends standing nearby, a condolence card in Dare Alo's hand, and Amaka Alo's cousin beside them. The supposed secret romantic meeting had been a group gathering after Dare Alo's father, Alo's funeral. Funke Alo's story collapsed piece by piece, not with shouting, with records. Chief Kola removed his glasses. Madam Coca, do you wish to respond? Funke stood slowly. Her voice trembled, then hardened. Yes, I did what was necessary. Amaka was wrong for him. She had no ambition, no connections, no understanding of the life Niyi was building. She would have pulled him backward. Amaka inhaled sharply. Funke pointed towards Zara. Look at them. 1 sick teacher and 1 rude girl in borrowed clothes. This is what all of you want to destroy a 21-year partnership for. Zara rose. Tola touched her arm. You do not have to answer. She walked to the microphone. Funke looked her up and down. Do not imagine a DNA report has made you my equal. Zara Al's voice was steady. This is not about equality with you, Ma. It is about what you did when you believed other people were beneath consequence. Funke opened her mouth. Zara continued. You intercepted a pregnant woman, Alo's letters. You sent lies from another person, Alo's account. You cropped grief into adultery. You corrupted a medical test and used the result to make the public laugh at my mother, Alo's illness. Then you stood in this room and called it protection. Funke Alo's eyes shone with rage. I loved him. Love does not erase another woman, Alo's voice. Love does not falsify science. What you protected was not love, Ma. It was control. The words traveled through the hall. Funke turned to Niyi. Tell them who stayed when your first project failed. Tell them who borrowed money from her family. Tell them who built this empire beside you. Niyi stood. You did, he said. Hope flashed across her face. And because you did, I trusted you beyond reason. That was my failure. Her hope vanished. Niyi faced the room. Funk manipulated evidence, but I made choices. I chose not to hear Amaka 21 years ago. I chose a convenient laboratory because I feared scandal. I chose to punish Zara when the result embarrassed me. Wealth did not force those choices. Funke did not control my mouth when I spoke cruelly beside a hospital bed. Zara looked at him. He did not ask forgiveness. He accepted blame. Chief Kohler consulted the other directors in a low voice. The board voted to suspend Funke immediately, revoke her access, and commission a full independent audit. The legal team confirmed that evidence had been referred for investigation into fraud, unauthorized access, evidence tampering, and related offenses. Funke laughed again, but nothing human remained in the sound. You think you have won? She asked Zara. You think his money will wash 21 years of poverty from your skin, Zara answered quietly. Poverty was never the dirt in this room. The cleaner from the lobby was standing near the back, with other staff invited to the fund launch. She lowered her eyes again. This time, she did not hide her smile. Security approached Funke. Bodhi was among them. For one suspended moment, Funke stood in the same position Zara had occupied 15 days earlier, watched by executives, unable to command the room. Niyi raised one hand. No dragging, he said. No insults. Escort her out, according to policy. Funke stared at him. Even now, he would not give her the violent humiliation she had given Zara. That was the difference. Bode opened the door. Madam, please. Funke lifted her bag, straightened her jacket, and walked through the hall while every person moved aside. Her heels struck the floor with hard, lonely clicks. The sound followed her into the lift. The board session ended at 11:26. The fund launch did not begin immediately. Niyi asked the guests to remain while the structure was revised publicly. The Community Cancer Access Fund will not carry my name, he announced. It will not carry Zara Alo's name or use Amaka Alo's treatment as promotional content. An independent clinical and social work panel will determine support based on need, medical appropriateness, and transparent criteria. Donors will not select individual patients for publicity. He turned to Zara. She has agreed to advise on patient communication and consent, subject to a written contract and fair payment. She has not agreed to become anybody Alo's inspirational poster. A ripple of restrained laughter moved through the room. Zara nodded. Amaka tried to stand. The cane slipped from her hand. Her body folded before anybody understood what was happening. Mummy! Zara caught one shoulder. Niyi caught the other. Dr. Sani pushed through the row, lowered Amaka carefully to the floor, and checked her pulse. She is breathing. Give space. The cameras turned. Niyi stepped between them and Amaka. No photographs, he said. His voice cut through the room. Put those cameras down. For once, protection did not mean control. It meant privacy. Amaka had hidden worsening dizziness all morning. because she feared missing the evidence session. Her blood pressure had dropped from dehydration, and her hemoglobin had fallen after treatment. She was taken by ambulance to Meridian, while Zara rode beside her. Nii followed in another car. The public victory remained behind in the glittering tower. Real life continued in the ambulance. Amaka regained full consciousness 23 minutes after reaching Meridian. Her blood pressure improved with fluids. A blood transfusion was arranged after repeat tests confirmed that her hemoglobin had fallen low enough to explain the dizziness and weakness. Dr. Sani postponed the next chemotherapy session by 6 days and adjusted the supportive medicines. Nobody called the delay defeat. Zara sat beside the bed holding her mother Alo's hand. Nii stood near the door until Amaka opened her eyes and saw him. Did we finish? She asked. Zara laughed through tears. Mummy, you fainted after the most important part. Did Funky leave? Yes. Yes. Good. Nobody should drag her. Nii stepped closer. You frightened us. Amaka looked at him. Yus? He glanced at Zara. Yus. Amaka Alo's eyes softened, but only slightly. Do not carry yourself on your head, because one test has confirmed what I told you. I am trying not to. Good. Zara needs a father, not an owner. Nii nodded. I am learning the difference. The learning took time. During the next 4 months, Nii discovered that fatherhood could not be deposited like money. Zara did not move into his mansion. She and Amaka returned to the Ikeja flat under a new agreement that gave them 6 months of secure tenancy while treatment continued. Zara accepted help with tuition only after a lawyer documented it as an educational trust that did not depend on her public relationship with Nii. She refused his surname. For now, I am Zara Okoro. She told him. My mother carried that name with me when you were absent. He did not argue. He also stopped arriving without calling. He learned that treatment days were not family reunion opportunities. Sometimes Amaka wanted him there. Sometimes she wanted silence. Once, after waiting outside for 2 hours, he was told she had changed her mind and did not wish to see anybody. He went home. That was progress. Amaka Alo's treatment did not follow a clean upward line. Some weeks her blood results were strong enough to continue on schedule. Other weeks she developed severe diarrhea, exhaustion, or pain that required medication changes. She lost weight before slowly gaining part of it back. Her skin became dry. Food tasted metallic. On certain mornings, the distance from bed to bathroom felt longer than the road from Lagos to Kano. Zara kept a red notebook. Temperature, fluids, medicines, symptoms, questions. Dr. Sani often reminded her that she was a daughter, not a machine. You must sleep, he said one afternoon. Caregivers can collapse while everybody is watching the patient. Who will watch her if I sleep? The nurse, your father, the neighbor. Anybody you trust for 2 hours. Zara squeezed her face at the word father. Dr. Sani smiled. Biology has entered the building. Relationship is still climbing the stairs. Eventually, she allowed Nii to stay with Amaka on Thursday evenings while she attended a restored online class. The first evening, she left 4 pages of instructions on the kitchen table. Nii read all 4. At 8:12, Amaka asked for water. He brought it too cold. At 8:20, she asked for her nausea medicine. He reached for the wrong packet and stopped when he saw the color-coded chart Zara had prepared. At 8:31, Amaka looked at him and said, You run a company with 3,000 staff, but 1 medicine box has defeated you. Nii laughed. The medicine box does not fear me. Good. Something should humble you. They laughed together for the first time in 21 years. The sound did not erase the past. It made room beside it. Funke Alo's case moved more slowly than social media wanted. Investigators interviewed staff, examined devices, and traced financial records. Her lawyers challenged the collection of some evidence and argued that the company dispute had contaminated the criminal complaint. Hearings were adjourned. Documents were verified. Solal's statement was tested against logs and bank records. Justice was not one dramatic gavel. It was paperwork that refused to disappear. Executive Gene Care suspended Solar immediately. The relevant professional body later revoked the credential under which he supervised identity-sensitive sample collection. He was charged in connection with evidence tampering and false documentation. His cooperation reduced some consequences, but it did not return him to the position he had abused. Funke was eventually convicted on counts relating to fraudulent electronic access, falsification of records, interference with evidence, and conspiracy. The court ordered restitution for documented investigation costs and imposed a custodial sentence. Separate corporate proceedings barred her from serving as an officer of the group and pursued recovery of funds linked to the scheme. She did not lose everything because she loved the wrong man. She lost power because she repeatedly treated other people, Alo's rights, as obstacles. Bode faced disciplinary action too. The company did not dismiss him immediately because the review found that Funke had created a culture where security staff feared punishment for questioning executive instructions. He received a final warning, completed de-escalation and dignity training, and later helped rewrite lobby procedures. The new rule was simple. Clothing, accent, and perceived wealth could never be treated as evidence of danger. When Zara reviewed the draft, she added one sentence. A person requesting access may be refused according to procedure, but must never be insulted, physically handled, or publicly degraded unless an immediate safety threat requires intervention. Bode signed the training register beneath it. 11 months after the letter, Amaka underwent follow-up imaging. The active disease had reduced dramatically. No clear distant spread was seen. Dr. Sani used the phrase complete clinical response with caution and explained that it did not mean nobody would ever need to worry again. You will continue follow-up, he told her. Regular examination. Imaging when indicated. Report bleeding, pain, urinary changes, or unexplained weight loss. We celebrate today, but we do not throw away tomorrow, Alo's appointments. Amaka wiped her eyes. Doctor, can I call myself well? You can call yourself recovering. Can I return to teaching? Part-time first. Your body is not a generator you kick until it starts. She laughed. Zara cried openly. Nee stood behind them, one hand over his mouth. That evening, they ate at the small dining table in the Ikeja flat rather than at an expensive restaurant. Amaka requested jollof rice, grilled fish, and cold malt. She managed half a plate. Zara made a speech nobody had asked for, thanking Dr. Sani, the nurses, the landlord, Tola, and Lola. Then she looked at Niyi. And thank you for learning that help must come with ears. Niyi raised his glass. I am still learning. Yes, Zara said. Do not graduate yourself. Everybody laughed. By then, she called him Dad sometimes. Not every time. The first time happened by accident. They were leaving the hospital when she realized her red notebook was missing. Dad, hold this bag. He took it. Both of them froze. Zara stared at the floor. Niyi stared at the bag as if it had become sacred. Neither mentioned it. But he smiled all the way to the car. Zara returned to her program and completed the semester she had deferred. Her final project examined barriers that prevented low-income patients from understanding referral letters, test reports, and consent documents. She interviewed patients who had delayed care because they thought a complex letter meant treatment was impossible. She found people who had paid agents to interpret documents the hospital would have explained freely. She also found families who lost weeks moving between offices because nobody told them which records to keep. From that work came the urgent letter desk. The first desk opened in a corner of Meridian Oncology Center with 2 chairs, a locked cabinet, and 1 refurbished computer. It was not a charity theater. Patients did not stand before cameras describing their suffering. Trained volunteers helped them organize records, prepare questions, apply for verified financial assistance, and request explanations in language they understood. A notice above the desk read, "You have the right to ask what a document means before you sign it. You have the right to know the purpose, risks, and alternatives of treatment. You have the right to keep copies of your results. You have the right to be treated with dignity, whether or not you can pay today." The Community Cancer Access Fund supported the desk, but an independent panel controlled patient selection and spending. NII could not choose beneficiaries. Donors could not demand photographs. Zara Allo's contract paid her for professional work, and every public use of her name required fresh consent. Lola insisted on those controls. "Good intentions without structure can still become abuse," she said. Zara agreed. 18 months after the day in the lobby, Amarka was strong enough to return to teaching 3 mornings each week. Her hair had grown back around her temples. She still tired easily, and she carried a folder of follow-up appointments in her handbag, but she walked without a cane most days. Nii and Amarka had spent 9 months in family counseling. The counselor did not allow them to turn Funke into an explanation for everything. Funke had lied. Nii had refused to listen. Amarka had protected Zara with silence for years, even after public information might have made contact possible. Each choice had reasons. Reasons were not the same as innocence. One Sunday afternoon, Nii visited Amarka at her new apartment. Zara had moved into student accommodation closer to her practical placement, though she came home most weekends. Amarka served tea. Nii did not touch it. "You are squeezing your face," she said. "Hope no problem? I want to ask you something. If it is marriage, drink your tea first. Your throat is already dry." He laughed nervously. "It is not marriage." "Good, you are not ready, I know." He looked at her across the small table. "I want permission to court you again, properly. Not as repayment, not because we share Zara, and not because illness frightens us. I want to know who you are now." Amarka stirred her tea. "And if you do not like who I am now, then I will respect the answer. And if I do not like who you are, the same." She watched him for a long moment. "One dinner," she said. "Public place. I choose it. You arrive on time. No security man sitting at the next table." Nii smiled. "Agreed. And you will not buy the restaurant because you dislike the service." "I have done that only once. Once is enough to put it in the rules." Their second beginning was slower than their first. That made it stronger. 6 weeks before that Monday morning, Zara completed her final professional assessment. The graduation hall at her training college was hot, despite 3 standing fans turning at full speed. Families filled the plastic chairs with flowers, food flasks and phones raised above their heads. Every few minutes, somebody shouted a graduate Allo's name before the announcer reached it. Nii arrived 20 minutes early. He came without a press team, without a company banner, and without the habit of making himself the most important person in any room. He sat beside Amarka in the 4th row and held her handbag while she adjusted the scarf around her neck. "You are nervous," Amarka said. "I negotiate contracts worth billions. And your daughter collecting 1 certificate has made your palm wet. That is different. Yes, this one matters to your heart, not only your balance sheet." When Zara Allo's name was called, she crossed the stage in a blue gown and accepted the certificate with both hands. Her classmates cheered. Amarka stood first. Nee stood after her and clapped until the people behind them complained that he was blocking their view. Later, outside the hall, a photographer asked Zara to stand between her parents. The word parents made all three of them pause. Zara looked at Amaka. Then she looked at Nee. "Come," she said. They stood together. Nee placed one hand behind Zara Alo's shoulder, but did not pull her closer. He waited. Zara moved the final inch herself. The camera clicked. It was the first photograph of the three of them. Afterwards, Nee presented her with a slim envelope. Zara narrowed her eyes. "What is inside?" "Read it before accusing me." She opened it. There was no check. It was a letter confirming that the Educational Trust had paid the final balance of her tuition and would release the remaining funds only for postgraduate study, professional certification, or a public health project she selected. Nee had no authority to withdraw the money if she disagreed with him. Zara read the last clause twice. "You removed yourself as sole controller." "Yes." "Tola and an independent trustee must approve any changes." "Why?" "Because love should not require you to remain obedient in order to feel secure." Zara looked at him for a long time. Then she hugged him. It was not the desperate embrace of somebody afraid to be abandoned. It was chosen freely, in daylight, after evidence, accountability, and months of ordinary effort. Nee closed his eyes. "Thank you, Dad," she whispered. He did not answer immediately because his voice had disappeared. Amaka rescued him by saying, "Do not start crying and disgrace us in front of the photographer." "I am not crying. You are blinking like Nipa is taking light inside your eyes." Zara laughed against his shoulder. The photographer captured that moment too. Months later, the first family portrait hung in Nee Alo's private study, not in the company lobby. Zara had insisted on that distinction. Their reunion was not a brand campaign. The urgent letter desk expanded gradually. The first 3 months produced more demand than the volunteers could handle, so Zara worked with social workers to create a triage system. Emergency symptoms went directly to clinical staff. Financial applications were checked against clear criteria. Questions about consent were referred back to treating professionals rather than answered by unqualified volunteers. Every worker signed confidentiality rules. Every patient chose whether relatives could receive information. Nobody was promised money merely because a story sounded painful. This made the project less dramatic than online charity videos and far more useful. One afternoon, a donor asked to film a woman receiving support and hand her a check on camera. Zara refused. "But people donate when they see emotion." "Ah," the donor argued. "Then show the audited accounts, waiting time reductions, and number of patients assisted," Zara said. "Do not ask a woman to display her fear so you can display your generosity." The donor threatened to withdraw funding. Nee heard about the dispute and called Zara. "Do you need me to speak to him?" "No." "What will you do? Replace the money if he leaves?" Nee smiled. "Good answer. Do not secretly replace it yourself." His smile disappeared. "You know me too well." "Yes, Dad." That is why the governance rules have legs. The donor stayed after Lola offered him a different form of recognition that did not expose patients. A wall plaque thanked all contributors equally, regardless of amount. The largest giver received no larger font. That policy irritated several wealthy people. It also protected the desk. 2 years after the torn letter, Zara was working at the urgent letter desk on a crowded Monday morning. The waiting area held traders, civil servants, artisans, and people who had traveled from outside Lagos before sunrise. Some carried thick files. Some carried only one piece of paper, folded until the creases had almost torn through it. An older woman approached Zara Alo's desk at 11:38. Her wrapper was tied tightly at the waist, and worry had drawn deep lines around her mouth. She held out a wrinkled envelope. "My daughter," she said. "I do not understand what they wrote here. They said it is urgent." I was afraid to open it. Zara stood and pulled out the chair beside her. "Sit down, Ma." The woman hesitated. "I do not have money for consultation. This desk is not selling respect." She sat. Zara opened the envelope carefully. It was a referral for further breast assessment after an abnormal screening result. The letter did not say the woman had cancer. It said more tests were needed. Zara explained each line without promising an outcome. "None. This result is not a final diagnosis," she said. "It means the clinic saw something that must be checked properly. We will call the referral center, confirm your appointment, and write down the questions you should ask." The woman Al's shoulders lowered. "So I should not go home and start arranging my burial?" "No, Ma. You should not allow fear to finish a story the doctors have not finished investigating." At the far end of the waiting area, Niyi stood beside Amaka. He had come to deliver audited fund reports, not to make a speech. He watched Zara help the woman organize her papers. He did not enter the moment. He did not announce that she was his daughter, or that the desk existed partly because of his money. Amaka slipped her hand into his. She became what the letter needed. "Ah," she said. Niyi looked at Zara. "What do you mean?" "Someone who reads before judging. Someone who explains before commanding. Someone who knows urgency is not permission to take away dignity." On Zara Alao's desk, beneath the clear protective cover, lay the two torn halves of Amaka Alao's original letter. They had been repaired with archival tape, but the scar through the paper remained visible. Zara kept it there for one reason. Not every torn thing should be hidden after repair. Some scars are instructions. From my own perspective, the most painful betrayal in this story was not only the corrupted DNA result. It was the speed with which fear, pride, and social status allowed one document to cancel the humanity of people who had already suffered enough. Evidence matters. Science matters. But procedure, informed consent, patience, and the discipline to investigate before condemning also matter. A person does not become worthy of treatment because a billionaire recognizes her. A poor woman does not lose the right to make decisions because somebody else pays the bill. A laboratory report deserves trust only when the process protecting the sample deserves trust. And an apology becomes meaningful only when changed conduct gives it legs. Wherever you are listening from, remember this. Dignity is not a favor the powerful give to the vulnerable. It belongs to every human being before money, status, illness, clothing, or blood relationship enters the room. Disclaimer. This story is entirely fictional and created with the assistance of AI for entertainment purposes only. It is intended to convey positive messages and life lessons. It does not refer to, represent, or target any real individual, organization, or establishment. Any resemblance to actual persons or events is purely coincidental.